in South Africa. Khomotso Modise reports.
At the entrance of the Lebombo border post, there's a police Inyala stationed near the main gate, with members of the South African Police Service stopping cars and members of the South African Defence Force also patrolling. Officials say more than 24,000 travellers made their way in and out of the country through these gates yesterday, with queues only dwindling at 2 a.m. BMA Deputy Assistant Commissioner Ndivuo Lubimbi.
That was attributed to the holidays that we have. If you remember very well, it might have been a holiday that other week, so people took a leave for the 3 days during the past week.
While Lubimbi has attributed the increase of travel volumes to the recent long weekends, officers who spoke to Eyewitness News said travellers who were at the borders yesterday were Mozambicans fleeing South Africa because of the recent anti-immigrant marches and South Africans fleeing Mozambique amid threats of retaliation. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Lebombo border post in Mpumalanga.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry says it would have been impractical to proceed as usual after deciding that today's hearings would be held entirely in camera. Witness G, a crime intelligence officer, has been testifying before the Commission today, but his evidence has not been made public. The decision follows safety concerns as the witness was unable to answer most questions in detail over fear that his identity could be exposed. Commission spokesperson Jeremy Michaels says it would have made little sense for the proceedings to remain public if no meaningful information could be obtained from the testimony.
I think it was patently clear from what we've witnessed over the last couple of hours since proceedings started this morning. It is very clear that it is impractical to proceed, as Justice Madlanga was saying, in the fashion that we have.
Action SA wants answers from the Finance Minister on how the state will cover rising road accident fund liabilities after a court ruling declared its claim form unlawful, with budget documents indicating the RAF's liabilities to be more than 400 billion rand. The party is raising the alarm about the impact this court ruling will have on unprocessed claims. Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts is currently finalising its inquiry report into the Road Accident Fund. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
Action SA estimates that around 600,000 claims were rejected as a result of the RAF claim form it unlawfully introduced in 2022. Last week's court ruling means these claimants can resubmit their claims. Action SA MP Alan Beasley believes this could push the RAF's liabilities to more than R500 billion and cause it to exceed the financial burdens posed by parastatals like Eskom and Transnet on the public purse.
Action SA has estimated that this court ruling could have implications of close to 180 billion. The RAF certainly does not have the money to fund these claims.
Beasley expects the additional influx of applications will place not only an additional financial burden, but also an operational one on the RAF to process a higher volume of claims.
The lack of rationality has had huge consequences, not only to the Road Accident Fund and to road crash victims, but also to the National Fiscus.
Action SA says it will be exploring all available legal avenues against those responsible. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in Turkey, the death toll from a school shooting has risen to 10. Last month, a 14-year-old opened fire at a school in Kahramanmaraş, killing 9 students and 1 teacher. The 10th girl, aged 11, died in hospital earlier today. The 14-year-old shooter died at the scene of the shooting. Authorities say he was the son of a former police inspector who has since been arrested. Gold is trading at $4,563.64 an ounce. The rand is at 16.71 to the dollar, 22.63 to the pound, 19.56 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $113.64 a barrel.
Heading out of Bedfordview, look out for a stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Van Buren Road, slowing down traffic. While in Germiston, there's another stationary vehicle that's on the N3 South at Geldenhuys Interchange, causing delays.
In your sports, Mamelodi Sundowns claim another win as they edge closer to a record-extending 9th league title in a row. Manchester United savour a first league double over rivals Liverpool in a decade. And Nat Skivia Brandt a doubt for the T20 World Cup after suffering a calf injury.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 26 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, police have beefed up their presence at the Lebombo border post following threats of a protest on the Mozambican side.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
On Sunday, 26 July, 7:02 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk unites us all in the iconic Joburg CBD.
702
Walk the Talk. Abize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good afternoon to you. It's 7 minutes past 3 on Monday, the 4th of May. Did you have a good weekend? I certainly hope you did. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Coming up over the next 3 hours, 4 of the country's biggest law firms are in court taking on government over BEE regulations for the legal sector that they say are unconstitutional. We'll examine those issues after 4. What is a Hanta virus and how likely are you to come close to one? Hanta virus in the news after deaths and serious illness on a cruise ship. One of those affected is in a Joburg hospital. We'll talk about that after 5. If you are listening into the Madlanga Commission, you might have heard this. In other words, nothing at all. Today's proceedings are completely behind closed doors. Alpha Ramushwana will explain how we got there. He'll do that shortly. We'll talk to a police officer who tracked down a crocodile in Mpumalanga in order to bring closure to a family trying to come to terms with the tragedy. And at the end of the show, some music. Do you have a favorite song that makes reference to a train?
He's leaving on that midnight train to Georgia.
There are quite a few of them, you know. Songs about trains, that is. So why trains today? Well, I'll tell you about it in the last half hour of the show. On the markets, the JSE has started the week in the red. Not by much, it should be said, weaker so far today by 270 points. Healthcare company PHP is down by 4.8%, Tungela by 4.5%, Standard Bank by 3.3%. Better news from Karoo, which is up by 3.7%, and We Buy Cars up by 2.3%. The real problems, the crucial numbers, once again lie in familiar territory. The oil price up by $1.93 today, with a barrel of Brent crude trading at $110.76. Gold price is down by $44.65. The platinum price is down by 2.18%. Also well above $40 an ounce. The rand is trading at 16.69 against the dollar. A euro will cost you 19 rand 54 and 22 rand 63 will get you a pound. Stephen Crudis joins us with all the market news at 25 past 4. Sport with Tola Kele Mganga. Looking forward to chatting with her about the weekend and a fascinating week ahead in football. Nkosikona Malinga Mnisi has the traffic news, and we'll get the very latest news headlines with Mbali Dlamini. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, you'll hear about it here as soon as we know. Hopefully we'll be the very first. But if you know something about something before we know anything about it, please get in touch. Maybe there's something happening in your neighborhood. Maybe there's something coming to you via your network or simply down the grapevine. Either way, get in touch with us on 072 702 1702 or give us a call on 011 883 0702. It's 11 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So as I said, we'll be doing all the big stories today, bringing you breaking news when we get it. But there's always other stuff to talk about. This really caught my ear. It was sent to me and I had a watch. And let me play it first. So this was produced by News24, put out on TikTok and on their website. They were out at the Birchwood Hotel. There was some kind of gathering of mayors, I think. I don't know exactly what was going on there, but mayors from all over the country, executive mayors amongst them, do get together. And they were all there in one place. So this News24 reporter asked the mayors how they would rate themselves out of 10. This is, first of all, what the executive mayor of Johannesburg, Dada Morero, had to say.
I think against what I was supposed to perform on, which in the main is focusing on the water infrastructure, by law enforcement, we can rate ourselves at least, 8 to 10? I think we're getting there. More time was needed for us to get through some of the hurdles.
Okay, so that's the executive mayor of Johannesburg. Let's hear from the executive mayor of Ekurhuleni, Dr. Takaza.
Well, we've done pretty well. I'm sure out of scoring, our communities will certainly give me a distinction. That's an excellent performance. On all the critical areas, I'm sure I will score above 80%. In fact, if you look on the aspect of service delivery, the type of interventions that we've done, we've introduced a system, a dashboard that is able to, now, report on real time, what is happening across our communities.
Okay, so that's what the executive mayor of Ekurhuleni would give himself. Now, there were a couple of others. We're not going to play those. The mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, Babawa Lobishe, gave herself 80%, which, I don't live there. I've read a fair amount about Nelson Mandela Bay. This is very interesting. Cyril Kaba is the mayor of the eThekwini municipality. This is how he scored himself.
Well, I give myself average. You see, because I can see where I'm going. And that when I come next time, just give me a few months. I will actually show you that we've exceeded even our own expectations. And I'm really working to go beyond average as we speak. Average, of course, being 5 and above 5. I'm getting there. I don't want really to tell people that I'm still excelling because it requires a lot of change management on the part of our staff.
So the mayor of eThekwini, and I haven't visited that city for many, many years. I've read some very favorable comments about him. Interestingly enough, he gives himself 5 out of 10, and the mayor of Mangaung completing the quintet of mayors interviewed in that piece for News24, Gregory Ntatisi, also quite modest in his appraisal, saying, look, there's still a lot of work to do. These are my targets. He gave himself 6 out of 10, and he said, once I have achieved these things, and he said he was on his way to achieving them, he would perhaps give himself a higher score, but at the moment, 6 out of 10. So we have 3 distinctions, Johannesburg, Nelson Mandela Bay, and Ekurhuleni, a pass, but not a particularly stellar one down in eThekwini. And the mayor of Mangaung is giving himself 6 out of 10, so 60% a pass, but a modest one. So, I found that really, really interesting. So, first of all, we're very keen to ask you, what do you make of those scores? If you live in those cities, in those metros, you might want to make a comment about that. But it's an interesting thing, and thank you, Kabazela, you dug that out and shared it with us. What did you make of all of that? It's quite odd in a way.
It was very odd, and I think the only mayor who read the room was the mayor of eThekwini, which was Cyril Kaba. I liked his answer, and I appreciated his answer because he leaves himself open for much improvement.
Yes.
Whereas if you're going to score yourself 8 out of 10, you are kind of hitting all the marks on of every single, category that you're going to be judged on. So, yeah, I mean, you drive around the city where you may live or where you don't live, and there are many things that are not up to scratch or standards where they should be. I mean, Mayor Dada Marrero said that he's done particularly well in water infrastructure and in bylaw enforcements. I don't know about that. 8 out of 10. Would we have been acceptable with a 5 out of 10 perhaps by him, or would you go lower?
Yeah. Well, let's hear from the listeners. And if you live out in Ekurhuleni, and by the way, if you live in eThekwini, I mean, as I say, I haven't been to the city for a long time. Don't follow the metro politics there as closely as I would the politics of the city where I live in, Gauteng, more broadly. But as I said, I've had the impression that Cyril Kaba is, starting to win some friends, and he got the lowest score of all, which is kind of interesting. But maybe that's why he's winning friends, because he's not claiming any easy victories at this minute. Nkosi Corner, you had a smile in a couple of moments, but give me your honest thoughts. I mean, what did you make of those clips we played?
I mean, the good thing for me, John, is that I've lived in all 3 cities, and I recently lived in Durban just last year.
Okay,
and I agree with Kabzela that I think Cyril Kaba was the most honest about his performance. I remember confronting him once about the sewer issue, as well as the issue around the stormwater drainage, hence why Durban has so many floods, and that's why the impact is so severe. And I told him that it's an absolute tatters. He disagreed to a large extent. But I think there has been some headwinds in Durban, albeit, I mean, some of the political parties in opposition took the metro to court in Pietermaritzburg, and the court actually found in their favor that eThekwini was essentially not doing enough to solve the issue around the sewer. But I think that's a very honest answer. Where Joburg is concerned, I drove through Hillbrow, Berea, Yeovil just last week. I don't know, John. And I think Dada Marrero just needs to relook that scoring. And I mean, if we're speaking about the water and he claims some victory there, I mean, we know that there's been infrastructure unveiled just last week, but we wouldn't have the Presidential Water Crisis Committee if he was doing sufficient for that. And as a resident of Ekurhuleni currently, I think Nkosindi Pile Xhakaza or Dr. Xhakaza is being super ambitious.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that feedback. And you're in a brilliant position, Nkosi Corner, to evaluate all 3 clips and all 3 mayors that we put front and center in that. But give us a call on 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. One thing we will never rose color in any way, shape or form is the traffic, because that would not make you happy and we would not be doing our jobs. Nkosi Corner, how are we looking?
Thanks so much, John. Good afternoon. Let's begin in Edenvale. There's been a crash on the N3 North at Modderfontein Road. It's from Linksfield Road. It's affecting 3 of the 5 lanes, so please do be patient and travel with care there. Look out for roadworks on the N12 westbound after Kamara Street, impacting the shoulder lane there and slowing down traffic. That's precisely around the Glen Mall in the south of Joburg. Heading out of Bedford View, look out for a stationary vehicle that's on the N3 South at Van Buren Road, slowing down traffic there. While in Germiston, there's another stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Haldenace Interchange, causing delays. Some usual suspects in terms of the traffic lights that are out in Sandton at the M1 North and Greyston Drive, and Fourways at Winnie Mandela Drive and Monte Casino. In Midrand at Old Pretoria Road and Olifantsfontein, pointsmen there on duty, as well as in the capital Tshwane in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein, in Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive. We're also told that the pointsmen are on duty. Anything else that we need to know of? And we'd love to hear from you so that we're giving you all the updates in terms of the situation on the roads. Please feel free to let us know by sending us your latest traffic update on X. We are at EWN Traffic, or send us a WhatsApp voice note or message on 072 702 1702.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
On the 2nd of April, Mazu Kubega left home to deposit rent money for his tuck shop. He never came back. His shop remained closed and his phone went unanswered. Later, on the 2nd of May, he reappeared. Now, he says he'd been held captive in a hijacked building. He says he was blindfolded for much of the time and guarded by a group of foreign nationals. Colonel Demakatso, does his story hold up?
Mazu had to be getting a medical assessment. He was taken to the hospital, and that's only then after the police could interview him.
How did he escape?
Remember, he was visibly shaken. The statement that we took is from what he told us, how did he get out, but we still need to go back to him and retake the statement.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9
on 702.
Celebrate our mothers on Sunday 10 May at Nairox Sculpture Park in the splendour of the cradle of humankind. Wander through the sweeping landscapes, embrace contemporary sculpture, taste premium Cape wines and savour gourmet cuisine, all to the sounds of some of South Africa's finest performing artists. Nairox is delighted to welcome Lyra back to their stage, as well as Steve Dyer's band alongside a 20-piece choir. Limited tickets are available from nairoxarts.com. Nairox is a private, not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program, and artist support.
Bar Black Sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Bar Black Sheep. Proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Bar Black Sheep. If you want more wool, it takes black sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's get into what happened at the Madlanga Commission today. A strange sort of day. Alpha Ramashwana, a very good afternoon to you. In the beginning, efforts to ask questions of witness G, and you'll give us some perspective on who that person is in a moment. Problems with the lines, and then what? Eventually, all brought absolutely in camera. So just give us the sequence of events, please. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Dr. John. So witness G has been testifying at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today. They were meant to testify partly in camera, meaning that we could not see their face, their names we did not have as well, but we could hear their voice, which was tweaked a little bit just to make sure that they are safe and their identity is not revealed. However, there were 2 adjournments early in the morning today, all caused by technical glitches. And this is because the commissioners are not present at the auditorium at the Justice Mabandla College, and they are chairing the proceedings from a different remote location. The witness G as well, wasn't at the auditorium, and he was at a separate place. So there was connectivity issues there, and they could not hear each other, which led to the adjournments. Now, witness G is a crime intelligence officer. It's believed that there are a number of crime intelligence informants who worked under witness G, and we do expect witness G to confirm whether or not Brown Mokgotsi was really a crime intelligence informant, which is what he claimed at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And depending on the outcome of that, we will likely know what's going to happen with Brown Mokgotsi next. Will he return to answer to some of the inconsistencies, or will they let him go? So that's going to be interesting. The second adjournment was caused by that they could not hear each other, and they adjourned because they needed to sort out those technical glitches. And then they came back again, and they tried to do it for the 3rd time, but witness G was very reluctant to answer questions in public because he believed that the answers would lead to his identity and his identity being revealed. And so they then decided that it would be best to have the commission in camera for today.
So it's going to be in camera. At what point do the media, people like yourself and ourselves, of course, members of the public who have been given and have come to expect maximum transparency on the Madlanga Commission. When Witness G is done and dusted with their participation in the Madlanga Commission, what happens to their testimony? Will it be released in a redacted form? Will it ever be released? What's the status, or do we still need to wait to find out?
In fact, those are some of the questions that were posed to the Commission's spokesperson, Jeremy Michaels, after the adjournment today, whether or not we're going to get some evidence that we still don't know whether or not we're going to get anything from Witness G's testimony. Even the most basic of questions that he was asked today: when did you serve in crime intelligence? What were you doing? Who were you working with? He could not answer in that hour of the public testimony because they were afraid that it would reveal his identity. So at this moment, it's unclear if we're going to get any sense of what he said during his testimony today. We don't even know if it's going to be part of the preliminary or final report, which we're likely to get after August, if we're going to get the full details of his testimony. So at this moment, we really don't know if we're ever going to know what Witness G has told the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
Sure. Well, it's very much up in the air. It was a very different kind of day, but a comprehensive summary. Thank you, Alpha Ramushwana, EWN reporter. 27 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's go east now, all the way east, in fact, to the border between South Africa and Mozambique. We are out at the Lebombo border post, which is just a kilometer or two east of Komatipoort, where Khumotso Modise, our EWN reporter, has gone out today because of what? Khumotso, very good afternoon to you. What's happening on the Mozambique side that has attracted the attention of you and other journalists?
Good afternoon, John. Well, it's been very tense here at the Lebombo border post right outside Komatipoort, and that's because there has been word of a planned protest and demonstration on the Mozambican side of the border. What we saw yesterday from visuals that were circulating on social media were long queues of people and travelers that were trying to get across the border. And having spoken to a couple of people here today, John, some have said that these were some South Africans who were making their way from Mozambique into South Africa, fleeing Mozambique. This is because they feared that there may be retaliation from those marches and demonstrations that we saw last week in Johannesburg and Pretoria that were led by March and March. So there has been a fear that there's going to be protest action by people in Mozambique who are retaliating, against those demonstrations. And so yesterday, the border was packed. We also understand that there were a lot of Mozambicans fleeing Mozambique as well, wanting to come into South Africa because they fear that the protests in Mozambique may flare up and cause hunger and may result in food insecurity. But also we understand that some Mozambicans were trying to make their way back home to Mozambique, and they are fleeing the tensions, or what they perceive to be the tensions in South Africa, what some have described here as xenophobic tensions.
So, Khumotso, how are the authorities handling this? I mean, on the one hand, there's a potential law and order issue with things going wrong on that score, so there's a role there for the police. And then, of course, the border authorities having to deal with what, from everything you're saying, sounds like a much greater volume and urgency of travelers.
Well, John, you can see the response from authorities here. It's very clear. The security and the police presence has been significantly beefed up. I saw a police Inyala driving towards the border. I've also seen a number of members of the SANDF that are also stationed outside the border. And having arrived, I was wondering whether this is what it usually looks like. But having spoken to some of the vendors outside the Lebombo border post, as well as the authorities,
right,
they have told me that this was as a result of the beefing up of security because of those tensions. I also spoke to a regional manager here, John, who told me that they are ready if anything were to blow up in the Mozambican side. I've seen drones in the sky as well. It's very clear that there's been monitoring of this area, and the officials, at least in South Africa, BMA officials, say that they are fully equipped for anything that may happen at the border.
Thank you so much, Khumotso Modise. Now, anybody out in that area of the country who's actually listening to the show if you've got some layers to add. I remember once there was a massive buildup of traffic at the Lebombo border, and we got a fabulous call from someone who was stuck in that queue, who was able to give us their perspective on what was happening there. And if you're listening to us from Maputo or anywhere else in Mozambique, well, please do call us as well. I'd love extra perspectives to add to that very thorough report we just got from Khumotso Modise. Many more questions still to ask and hopefully get answers on. 29 minutes to 4. This Eyewitness News is brought to you by ShopRite. Lower prices you can trust always. Here's Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The Public Works Department is launching a new system to end corruption in the expanded Public Works program and to create fairness for applicants. Minister Dean McPherson says he is introducing a more digitalized approach to the registration process. EPWP workers perform temporary labor-intensive tasks to reduce poverty and unemployment while providing community services. Previously, the department exposed allegations of sex for jobs scandals, political affiliation, as well as ghost employees linked to the program. McPherson says this will come to an end as the new system will ensure that deserving people are being hired.
Is a system that is transparent and fair, that every person has so clear, and it makes me really angry when I hear of opportunities going to dead people, to people who already have jobs.
The prosecution in the trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafis Modak has continued to cast doubt on the testimony of IPID's deputy provincial head for the Western Cape, Mario September. September is testifying as a witness for Modak's defence related to IPID's investigation into top cop Charles Kinnear's murder in 2020. Modak, who is on trial with 14 others, faces 122 charges, including the murder of Kinnear. Carlo Peterson has more.
State Prosecutor Greg Wolmerans continued to grill IPID's Deputy Provincial Head for the Western Cape, Mario September, today about IPID's culpable homicide probe into the possible involvement of police in the murder of top cop Charles Kinnear. September told the court he was informed by a correctional services officer at Goodwood Prison that 2 inmates could help in the investigation. September says the inmates identified the shooter in the Kinnear murder as a member of alleged underworld kingpin Ralph Stanfield's 28th gang. Wolmerans questioned September about meeting the inmates, Modak and co-accused Zane Killian, multiple times at Goodwood Prison.
I am going to argue one day, if I have to, that your approach to your so-called investigation is one of arrogance. You do as you please under the umbrella that you are seized with a docket of culpable homicide.
The trial continues. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
Cold, wet and windy conditions are expected across the country from today through to Thursday. The South African Weather Service says this is due to a cut-off low-pressure system expected to make landfall from tomorrow. Forecaster Letlogonolo Tobela says the system is expected to affect the western, northern and eastern Cape before spreading eastwards across the central and eastern interior.
Significant weather-related impacts are expected, and these include disruptive rainfall, which may lead to widespread flooding over the Eastern Cape and the eastern parts of the Western Cape. Damaging coastal winds are expected over most parts of the south coast into the adjacent interior, which may also result in some high waves, which may result in impacts of navigation at sea to be difficult along the south coast into the adjacent interior of the country.
Tobela says there is also a risk of disruptive snowfall over high-lying areas, which could lead to the closure of mountain passes.
Disruptive snowfall may also result in closure to mountain passes possible over the northeastern high ground of the Western Cape as well as the northern high ground of the Eastern Cape province. And lastly, there is a possibility of severe thunderstorms which may lead to localized flooding, large amounts of small hail and localized damage to settlements possible over the Free State and the Northwest Province.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with isolated showers and thundershowers expected today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 26 and 27 degrees.
In Eden Vale, there's been a crash on the N3 North at Modderfontein Road. It's affecting 3 of the 5 lanes there. It's right from Linksfield Road. Also look out for roadworks on the N12 westbound after Kamara Street, impacting the shoulder lane and slowing down traffic. This is precisely around the Glen Shopping Mall.
The top story in EWN. The Public Works Department has launched a new system to end corruption in the expanded Public Works program and to create fairness for applicants.
In the news this week, fuel prices are rising yet again, but there is some relief for ShopRite shoppers. With ShopRite's bulk buying power, they're able to secure stock long before price increases, which means that they can keep their prices lower for much longer. So you can save on deals like Weet-Bix 900 grams for a low R52.99 and Recoffee 750 grams or 800 gram refill for only R129.99 each. Valid until Sunday 10 May. Lower prices you can trust. Always.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
The future of business starts with a bold conversation. As a WeWork member, you get a front row seat. Introducing the WeWork Future of Work series, globally progressive high-energy talk sessions happening every month inside WeWork Sandton and Rosebank. From adaptive leadership to AI workflows, connect with disruptive speakers and thinkers shaping business today. Become a WeWork member and register for the next WeWork Future of Work series. Details at wework.co.za. WeWork, made for work, built for business.
Mavis, I wonder if I should sell my car. I'm not sure where to go.
Wanna sell your car, but don't know what to do. You don't have to go far, we come to you. If you're rolling on a 1.5 or a Lacquer 2.2, doesn't matter what you drive, we buy cars once you.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers two options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
Drive Home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Good afternoon, Tate John and your fellow listeners. Yo. Hey, Tada Morero, lay that Egurulen Mayor. They must be smoking a new kind of weed. I don't know what is it mixed with, and I can tell you for free, they are rolling it with their TT socks. Because really, how do you score yourself 8 and 80%? I mean, what is that? Yo, this is another level of Dilulu. This is another level of believing in your own hype, pompous behavior. But where do they live? Maybe in Kukuland.
Good afternoon, John. This is Selma from Roodepoort. I think Jelberg Meyer scores a 1, if not a 0, considering in what a gemors Johannesburg is. Just see what Jellen Zilla's getting up to. Thanks for a lovely show. Bye.
Good afternoon, John and team. Look, I'm listening now to the clips of mayors responding to questions. One thing that you must know, once a politician answers a question and he starts saying, you must know that whatever comes out after that, it's not true at all. Yeah, what a joke. Modise, yeah.
Thanks for those. So earlier, if you missed it, we played clips of different mayors. They were interviewed by News 24 at a gathering of municipal leaders out at the Birchwood Hotel. That's my understanding of the background. And they were asked, how do you score your performance out of 10? Executive Mayor of Joburg gave himself 8. The Executive Mayor of Ekurhuleni said he would get a distinction, which my understanding would be 80%. Interestingly, for me at least, the eThekwini Mayor Cyril Xaba was much more modest and said, well, he would score himself as average. Then he indicated that's kind of around 5 out of 10. And interesting for me because I've heard that there's quite a few people who feel he's doing a decent job. I don't know enough about Durban, eThekwini, and I haven't been there for a long, long time. But anyway, that was very interesting for me. Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, which doesn't sound like it's in great shape, also gave herself 8 out of 10. And in Mangaung, the mayor there was pretty modest and said, well, very clear about what needs doing. But at the moment, because I haven't done all of it, I'd give myself 6 out of 10. So please do keep them coming. We've got a very different question around self-rating, by the way. But later for that, let's stick with the executive mayors for now. 18 minutes to 4.
EWN Sport.
Tola Kele Mganga with the very latest news from a very interesting weekend. Nice Sunday ending to all the sport for you, eh?
Absolutely, John. And Mamelodi Sundowns tightened their grip at the top of the Betway Premiership standings following their 3-0 victory over Polokwane City. The Brazilians are now 5 points clear of second place Orlando Pirates, who have a game in hand. Tashreeq Morris was amongst the goals as Miguel Cardoso's side recorded a 19th win from their 27 league games.
What we know is the potential of a player, and it's always towards the potential of a player that we work. We know what he's capable to do. If he's not right there, obviously we try to address the questions and but not making it a question on. I think that happens with many players, to have fluctuations throughout the season when you play 50 matches. It's normal that there will be fluctuations on the performance of the players. That's why it's important to have a very competitive squad, where here and then when one drops, the other one can come.
Michael Carrick has delivered UEFA Champions League qualification for Manchester United following their 3-2 win over Liverpool yesterday. Kobbie Mainoo scored the winner as the Red Devils secured a first league double over the Reds since the 2015-16 season. The 3 points also means that under Carrick, United have beaten Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea to complete a clean sweep of England's Super League clubs.
Ever since we came back through the doors, I think the boys have responded really well to it, and I think it comes through trust as well, and how you treat each other, and the trust between us, and the belief certainly that I've got in them, and the staff have got in them, and we spoke about that before the game, about how much belief we've got in them, and so trying to give them that confidence to go and play really good players, and it can be a really good team when we put things in place, and that's proved to be the case over recent months.
Speaking of the Blues, they take on Nottingham Forest from 4 p.m, looking to keep alive their hopes of qualifying for the Champions League. Despite their turbulent season so far, interim head coach Callum McFarlane is confident in them ending their campaign on a high.
We need the crowd to bring a positive energy and the right energy and get behind the team. We all want to do well for this club. We know that there's still a lot to play for. Like you said, a cup final. We can still get in the Champions League. We want to win every single game, and we've got 2 more games at Stamford Bridge. I think that's correct, yeah? 2 more games at Stamford Bridge, so we want to win as many games as possible, and we'll need them.
And England captain Nat Skivia-Brandt will miss the 3-match ODI series against New Zealand due to a calf injury, sparking concerns for the hosts 1 month before the start of the T20 World Cup. Skivia-Brandt sustained a left calf strain during a domestic game for the Blaze against Warwickshire and has been advised to rest after having scans. England begin their Group B campaign at the World Cup against Sri Lanka on the 12th of June. Tola Kele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 3:45, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by GWM, class-leading vehicles that help you navigate your journey. Let's find out what's happening on the roads with Nkosi Corner. N1 North, whereabouts, sort of on the west side there, Rudaput area, what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon to you, John. We are seeing a build-up of traffic across a number of routes. Of course, many people back to work and back to regular programming. And you're right, Tata John, heading towards Rudaput, you can anticipate some delays on the N1 North. That's before Albertina Sisulu Road, affecting one of the 4 lanes there. It has been closed, so please do approach with caution. In the opposite direction, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South before Gordon Road. The shoulder lane is also closed. In Edenvale, there's been a crash on the N3 North, precisely at Modderfontein Road from Linksfield Road, affecting 3 of the 5 lanes. Look out for some roadworks on the N12 westbound after Kamara Street, impacting the shoulder lane and slowing down traffic. This is around the Glen Shopping Mall. Heading out of Bedford View, look out for a stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Van Buren Road, slowing down traffic there. While in Germiston, there's another stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Geldenhuys Interchange, causing delays. Some usual traffic lights that are out, but pointsmen are on duty, so that is good news, and I suppose it comes as relief to many of you in Edenvale at Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeek Road, in Kyalami at the R55 and Main Road, in North Riding at Malibong and Mahogany, in Midrand at the N1 South and Olifantsfontein. Anything else, friends, that you need to let us know about? We'd love to hear from you so that we keep you abreast about all that is happening on your various routes. Send us your latest traffic update on X. We are at EWN Traffic, or send us a WhatsApp message or voice note on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Ever since fuel went up, you've had to endure a lot. Like helping your mom run errands while she tries to help you with your love life.
Hi, Bo. Kanti, when are you and Sfiso getting married? Pella, I want grandchildren.
Don't let the fuel hike put you under pressure. Get 5,000 Rand towards your fuel when you buy a Haval or P-Series this month. Visit gwm.co.za or your nearest dealer to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
When we talk about traffic, a large proportion of the vehicles out on the road as it gets jammed at rush hour are taxis, and the news coming from the taxi industry this week, I think it's fair to say expected, possibly even understandable, but not good news at all. Taxi fares are going up. We'll get the perspective of the National Taxi Alliance when spokesperson Theo Malele joins us in a few moments' time. Stay with us for that. Tolakele, before we do, though, talk about taxi fare increases, earlier today we played excerpts of a TikTok put together by News 24 where they were at a gathering where there were various mayors, and they asked a number of them what score they would give themselves out of 10. Executive Mayor of Johannesburg gave himself 8. The Executive Mayor of Ekurhuleni, Dr. Xhakaza, said he would get a distinction. He'd get 80% if the residents were asked. Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay also gave herself 80%, 8 out of 10. I'm referring there to Babawa Lobishe. Interestingly enough, Cyril Kaba, Mayor of eThekwini, said, well, 5 out of 10 at the moment, but I'm pushing and I've got some belief that I'm going to get that score up. And also pretty modest Mangaung Executive Mayor Gregory Ntatisi, who again framed it in a similar way and said, well, I'll give myself 6 out of 10 at the moment, but we're doing some stuff that we believe will reap dividends. I mean, what's your response to that? Because you know Joburg well because you live here. You know Ekurhuleni well because you grew up there. Any distinctions that you might be handing out?
In the words of one of my favorite people from Uthandweni Tembu, delusional. Delusional. Especially when we live the reality of lack of service delivery. It is because I went home yesterday where a pothole that you left 6 months ago has now been replaced by someone had to put a cone in it.
Yes.
So the people that don't know about the pothole are aware that, hey, there's a pothole over here. It's not like they're going to fix it. They just want you to know that the pothole is over here. And I remember when Alpha had done an ESCOM story where ESCOM was kind of like patting themselves on the back on the fact that I think they'd gone 150 days without load shedding. As people from the East Rand, we know load reduction because it's become so ingrained in us that for certain times of the day, there will be no electricity and people have learned to navigate their lives around that. So for the mayor to be sitting there to be like 8 out of 10, what have they achieved that the rest of us don't know about?
Yeah, I must say, whenever somebody starts off a comment by saying, to quote, and I could see Nkosi Corner like bracing himself, thinking, here it comes. Whenever somebody, I'm in some difficult situation, they say, I'd like to quote you. Go, oh, yo. Here it comes. And there it came. Let's be fair. 702 Drive. It's 10 minutes to 4. Keep your comments coming, please. Michael says, as a resident of the inner city, I'd rate Mayor Morero as a 1 out of 10. He's been an abject failure. The CBD continues to deteriorate under his watch. And what else? Yeah, there's Glenna says, where does the Kuruleni mayor live? Mars? I'd not give him 1 point. We have a water burst pipe nearly daily, but at the very least weekly, robots are constantly out. There are sewer leaks regularly. Even the My COE reporting system seems to be off more than it's on. This one from Kotatso says Nasipi Moya is the best performing mayor in Gauteng, and even she is not at an 8, perhaps a 6 at best. Mayor Morero is delirious. We've had a lot of that, the words used a lot, delusional, delirious. But keep your thoughts coming. I've got a different question for you later in the show, as I said, about self-assessment. But wait for that. Let's stay with the question that we've already put to you. 9 minutes now to 4.
Drive Home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, taxi fares increasing today, I think, in Gauteng and certainly down in the Western Cape. I don't think anyone is surprised. They may well be dismayed, but there is widespread understanding that the fuel price is going through the roof, and it's going up again in the middle of this week. So let's talk about this, get some perspective from the taxi industry. Theo Malele is the spokesperson for the National Taxi Alliance. Mr. Malele, welcome and thanks very much for your time. We may get to the numbers later, but I want to start with something a little different. Did you, as the industry, have any opportunity to negotiate with government about whether there could be a taxi industry specific measure taken to try and mitigate the effects of the fuel increase? I know that we've got a general countrywide vehicle agnostic thing around the fuel levy to mitigate it. But was there ever in play any possibility of something specific for taxis?
Well, good afternoon to you and to our listeners out there. Well, we haven't had any luck in that aspect. We are very hopeful. We were actually hopeful that we would be given a hearing a couple of months ago, excuse me, but unfortunately that has never come to fruition.
So you'd approach them and say, listen, this thing is coming. We transport millions of South Africans every single day. Can we sit down and talk? If I've understood you right, you made an approach, no meeting materialized?
Well, you would remember that, a couple of years ago, we've had a couple of marches where we, placed our grievances before authorities. And one of them, as a sore thumb, was the fact that the taxi industry, being the majority public transport mover, has not, seen any support in terms of, a subsidization.
Yes.
And every minister that comes in, they will come with promises to say, no, I will be looking at this. I'm coming with changes. And, it's just a pie in the sky. It has never materialized.
Mr. Malele, how are you going to benchmark this increase as an industry? Because do you link it to a specific top number for what fuel costs? Do you link it to a percentage increase? In other words, I think what people are wondering is prices go up, in people's perception, quickly they take longer to come down. What would trigger a reduction?
Look, we, like any other business, I would actually throw the same question at you and ask if ever the price of bread, comes down every time, fuel prices drop.
Yes.
And your answer would be a no. And this is primarily because the fact that, commodities go up. We service vehicle. The maintenance of this vehicle still stays high. And we are unfortunately not able to make such adjustments unless government comes to play. Only then can we consider talking about the reduction of, prices. Remember that the tax industry is charging, charity fares, not market-related, knowing for a fact that we transport the products of the poor. We try by all means not to, make these increases harshly. As you would realize that many businesses adjust their prices on an annual basis. So we at times just stay years on end without, making such adjustments. But currently, we have no option but to begin to look at ways of surviving as well as a business. And, having said that, John, the last time we made these adjustments was in the month of March, and the price changes were effected from the 1st of April. So at this point, we haven't set and locked horns as to what kind of margins will we be looking at after having looked at what the input cost, that is fuel, is actually affecting our margin by which percentage.
But Mr. Malele, to say that you're running a business based on charity fairs is surely stretching the point. I mean, you are running business because it is a business, and the fierce competition for routes, the huge market for and desire to get taxi operating licenses suggests that while this business may not be as lucrative as you like, it is a lucrative business, surely.
Yes, look, not lucrative. It looks lucrative from the ordinary person out there.
Yes.
Our markup, ranges between 30 and 33.33% of cost. So we are very squeezed in terms of our profit margin.
And just a final question: Is there a price at which you might start losing customers? Or is this a situation where people are either going to work, going to school, going to university, going to look for a job, going to visit relatives? There's probably 4 dozen reasons why people are boarding taxis. Do you fear that there's a point at which people will stop traveling with you? Or is this a situation where people really don't have a choice?
No, look, the ridership has seriously declined. More especially after the introduction of e-hailing that has been in the country, illegally, and only just the previous year was it regulated. We have had serious decline in terms of ridership. Well, we do not fear much that we will actually lose clientele, because we know we service in most cases the last mile. And we also go into places that are difficult to can access by these other modern transport systems.
Thank you so much, Theo Malele. Very interesting indeed. National Taxi Alliance spokesperson. I mean, a question for you, or perhaps for members of your family or friends who make extensive use of taxis. Is there a point where this becomes unaffordable? Not to say you'll never use a taxi again, but you might say, well, I used to use one 5 times a week. I'm cutting it to 3. Is there any flexibility in this at all? Give us a call. 011 883 0702.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Why do precautionary suspensions of public officials tend to be so prolonged? In fact, you've also spoken about a case of someone who was suspended for 12 years with full pay, who complained later about not getting a bonus. I mean, you can't make that stuff up.
You'll be surprised that most of these cases, it's when internal players collude, maybe say so-and-so is a problem, or we want to do something to remove so-and-so. It's better to just suspend, use this blunt instrument against the regulation from the Public Service and Administration Department, which says you can only suspend a person for 60 days if needs be whilst collecting information.
Professor Somatota Fikeni.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
If your network provider was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to Outsurance saved 30-year-old Dineo an unbelievable 1,094 Rand on on a 2025 Kia Sonet. Get a quote now, and if OUTsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS OUT to 45142. That's OUT to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Looking to upgrade your office furniture this year? Desk & Chair, the direct office furniture manufacturer, has a deal you don't want to miss. Get 5% cash back towards your existing office furniture with all purchases over 350,000 Rand. Contact Desk & Chair now for more info. Visit our newly renovated showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk & Chair. Think, feel, work better. T's and C's apply.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
This is EWN.
Yet another recall of a popular vehicle brand, and the health department says don't panic over Hanta virus infections. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. There has been yet another recall of a popular vehicle brand, this time affecting 2 Hyundai models. The National Consumer Commission has announced the recall of 14 Hyundai i30 FD and Elantra HD vehicles sold back in 2011. The affected cars were found to have faulty airbag systems, which could pose a safety risk in the event of a crash. Commission spokesperson Peton Taba is urging owners of these 2011 models to visit their nearest Hyundai dealerships for assistance.
We also say to consumers who no longer own these vehicles, who might have sold the vehicles to the next consumer, do ensure that you contact Hyundai customer care as well and assist them with tracing the current owner or owners of those vehicles.
The health department is urging the public not to panic following the deaths of 3 tourists due to suspected hantavirus infections. The tourists were all passengers of an international cruise ship travelling from Argentina to the Canary Islands. The department says the British tourist that is being treated at a Santon hospital remains in isolation in critical condition. He was flown to South Africa from Ascension after failing to respond to initial treatment. His lab tests have since confirmed hantavirus, a rare but potentially deadly virus spread mainly by rodents. Meanwhile, a second patient who collapsed at the OR Tambo International Airport while connecting to a flight to the Netherlands died at a medical facility in Kempton Park. Health Department spokesperson Foster Mohale.
The Department of Health is working with the NICD and Gauteng Health Department authorities to conduct contact tracing in order to stop potential spread of this hantavirus by identifying and monitoring all individuals who may have been exposed to the infected person. In our view, there's no need for public to panic because only 2 patients from the cruise ship have been within our borders.
Police have beefed up their presence at the Lebombo border post following threats of protest on the Mozambican side. Yesterday, authorities recorded a significant increase in travellers making their way in and out of the country through that border. This increase in movement has coincided with recent demonstrations against illegal migrants in South Africa. Khomotso Modise has more.
At the entrance of the Lebombo border post, there's a police Inyala station near the main gate with members of the South African Police Service stopping cars and members of the South African Defence Force also patrolling. Officials say more than 24,000 travellers made their way in and out of the country through these gates yesterday, with queues only dwindling at 2 a.m. BMA Deputy Assistant Commissioner Ndivuo Lubimbi.
That was attributed to the holidays that we have. If you remember very well, it might have been a holiday that other week, so people took a leave for the 3 days during the past week.
While Lubimbi has attributed the increase of travel volumes to the recent long weekends, officers who spoke to Eyewitness News said travelers who were at the borders yesterday were Mozambicans fleeing South Africa because of the recent anti-immigrant marches and South Africans fleeing Mozambique amid threats of retaliation. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News at the Lebombo border post in Mpumalanga.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry says it would have been impractical to proceed as usual after deciding that today's hearings would be held entirely in camera. Witness G, a crime intelligence officer, is testifying before the commission, but his evidence is not being made public. The decision follows safety concerns as the witness was unable to answer most questions in detail over fear that his identity could be exposed. Commission spokesperson Jeremy Michaels says it would have made little sense for the proceedings to remain public if no meaningful information could be obtained from the testimony.
I think it was patently clear from what we've witnessed over the last couple of hours since proceedings started this morning. It is very clear that it is impractical to proceed, as Justice Madlanga was saying, in the fashion that we have.
And Pope Leo XIV is expected to meet U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio later this week. The meeting will come weeks after U.S. President Donald Trump's unprecedented criticism of the pontiff over Leo's anti-war rhetoric. The Pope has increasingly spoken out against international conflicts and the politicians waging them. Thursday's visit will be the second time the Pope and Rubio have met. Gold is trading at $4,563.40 an ounce. The rand is at 16.70 to the dollar, 22.64 to the pound, 19.56 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $113.64 a barrel.
There's a stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Van Buren Road slowing down traffic. This is around the Bedford View area, so please be on the lookout for that. Also, be on the lookout for one on the N12 westbound at Rietfontein. This is in Boksburg.
In your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns claim another win as they edge closer to a record-extending 9th league title in a row. Manchester United savour a first league double over rivals Liverpool in a decade. And Nat Skivia brunted out for the T20 World Cup after suffering a calf injury.
A cloudy Tuesday with widespread showers and thundershowers expected in Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 11 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 11 and 21, and Vereeniging 8 and 19 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: there has been yet another recall of a popular vehicle brand, this time affecting 2 Hyundai models.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Visit primemediaplus.com to enter 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Josie.
For Joburg, by Joburg, in Joburg.
Bamise bonke.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 9 minutes past 4. I don't know if anyone has managed to do a total of how many models, how many vehicles affected, and how many makers have actually had vehicle recalls over the last 2 years. I mean, it really is piling up. And again, the question is this the dividends of a greater level of vigilance, or does this point to a problem in the manufacturing space? Oh, 2011 models, these Hyundais that are being recalled. I mean, they came out a long time ago, 15 years ago. Defects only being discovered now. Don't fully understand it. If you're a car dealer, and we have had a number of interviews on the subject, we've spoken to the National Consumer Commission, we've spoken to the automakers, umbrella body, I don't remember the exact which one of them we spoke to, but yeah, if you're a car dealer, maybe you've got a sense of what's actually going on. Sometimes when there's greater levels of recalls, maybe this, as I say, points to a higher level of care and vigilance, but I must say I'm a bit puzzled by it and possibly a little concerned. If you can shed some light, call us. And if you can shed some light, by the way, on any other story that we're covering, please do call us. The number to use is 072 702 1702. And that extends, by the way, to stories that we're not covering at all. If you've picked up something in your neighborhood, in your network, along the grapevine that you really feel we ought to be covering, do get in touch. We would really like to hear from you if there's something that we might have missed. 702 Drive, it's 4:10 coming up in a moment. Very interesting indeed. You know, the e-toll thing never quite goes away, and every time people drive down a road where there is that e-toll infrastructure, there is a reminder of this ill-fated project. However, the Gauteng provincial government and SANRAL have agreed to develop a business plan to make use of this infrastructure. The big question, of course, on my mind is, what exactly would you use it for? You know, it's all very well to say, well, we can use these potatoes in a fruit salad. Yeah, you can, but would you want to? I'm being extremely simplistic and perhaps a little frivolous, but maybe those things for which it will be used would be better served by actually putting in something new. I really don't know, but we'll be joined by somebody who does. Professor Innocent Musondo is an expert on construction project management. He joins us from UJ in a few moments' time. 4:11. We spoke earlier to Theo Molele from the National Taxi Association in regard to their fare increase. A couple of you have got some thoughts in response. Let's hear.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, John. I think the word delusional has been used enough today on the show. But yeah, I think in terms of the taxi association and it not being a lucrative business, that is the furthest thing from the truth. Also, I don't understand what level or what kind of assistance they expect from the government. Last time I checked, they were not paying taxes. So yeah, I don't know. Sean here, Alberton. It's delusional.
Hey, afternoon, John. O'Brien for Sloras. And John, we are in trouble with the taxis fares and going up because of Theo is not being truthful. We don't have a choice. We have to use the taxis whether we like it or not. If my cousin buys a car and gives us a lift to go to work, they are going to block us and say, no, he's taking their customers. My cousin must only drive his car alone. Meanwhile, our government decide they don't want to fix the trains. So if the Uber comes to fetch me, they threaten the guys, they burn their cars. We have to take the taxis whether we like it or not. It will reach a point when, Tate John, if they meet you walking on the street going to town, they'll ask you, why are you not using a taxi? Thank you, Tate John.
Yeah, thanks for that final one. I mean, I think many people would agree with the points that you're making. I would just disagree with you on one thing. I don't think Theo Molele was in any way suggesting that there was infinite choice available to people. I mean, he framed it very differently. It's true to say. He said taxis deliver what he called the last mile service. He also said they're going to areas where other forms of public transport can't reach. But I don't think he was rose-colored. Wearing rose-colored glasses in regard to the choices that people have. 702 Drive, it's 4:13.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest from out on the roads. We were having N1 problems in the Repurposing area, other areas getting quite blocked up. And in Nkosi Corner, you were saying we really are back to a normal Monday now.
No, absolutely. Thank you, John. Good afternoon. Indeed, let's start with that incident then. As you leave Roodepoort, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South before Gordon Road. The shoulder lane has been affected. Precisely, this appears to be a new one. The one we reported on earlier seems to have been cleared. If this is the case or not, please do let us know. I'll tell you in a moment how to do that. But there's also a stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Van Buren Road, slowing down traffic. This is around the Bedford View area. Also look out for one on the N12 westbound at the Redfontaine, precisely the interchange there. This is in Boksburg. Look out for roadworks on the N12 westbound after Kamara Street, impacting the shoulder lane and slowing down traffic there. This is around the Glen Shopping Mall. There's also a stationary vehicle on the N12 westbound before Xavier Street. This is as you're heading towards the Glen Shopping Mall. One of the 4 lanes has been affected, so please do approach with caution. Taking a look at some of the traffic lights that remain out, we'll start out in Sandton at the M1 North and Grayston Drive, that is, in 4 ways at Winnie Mandela Drive at Monte Casino, and in the Capital Tshwane in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brackfontein, Monument Park at the R21 in Solomon Mahlangu Drive, and in the Central Business District at Thabo Suhume and Johannes Ramohwase. The good news, though, friends, is that the pointsmen are on duty. Anything else, as I said, these are the details of how to get a hold of us on X. We are at EWN Traffic, or simply send us a message or voice note on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
The Clement Manya-Teller Show will be coming to you live from the Trilogue Business in Society Conference tomorrow. This thought leadership gathering of corporates, government and NPOs is proudly supported by 702 and Primedia Cares.
Mzansi, the excitement is building. The 130th running of the Hollywood Bets Durban July takes place on Saturday, 4 July. This year's theme, Country Allure, draws from the richness of our land. A celebration of heritage, freedom and style, inspired by our beautiful countryside. It's more than a race. It's where champions are made, stories are written, and greatness is unleashed. World-class horse racing, bold fashion, music, culture, and a day of endless excitement at Hollywood Bets Greyville Racecourse. Get your early bird ticket now at Ticket Pro for just 250 Rand. Available now until 6 May 2026. Get ready to release your glamour at the Hollywood Bets Durban July, Africa's greatest horse racing and social event.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg.
In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us.
Walk the talk.
In the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babise bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this book.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babise bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 18 minutes past 4. Now, as I was saying a little bit earlier, anyone driving around the highways of Gauteng will, I'm sure, occasionally glance up, look at gantries overhead as you whiz by, and remember that those were all set up at huge cost to implement the e-toll system, which is no longer with us. As I understand it, certainly not as a working or efficient entity. News has come through, a very interesting piece on News 24 by Naila Ibrahim, that there's some kind of agreement between the Gauteng provincial government and SANRAL that they will develop a business plan to make use of this infrastructure. Is that a viable proposition, or is that just trying to make the most of something that doesn't work and maybe should be left well alone? I have no real idea as to what these gantries could be used for, but let's welcome someone who's expert in this area. Professor Innocent Musonda is Professor at the University of Johannesburg. He's in the Department of Construction Project Management. Prof, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time. Some of what's being suggested is this could be used to detect and track stolen vehicles, increase surveillance around crime, speed detection technologies, and so on. Does this sound viable to you, or are we trying to make the best of a bad job, sending good money after bad?
Yes, good afternoon or good evening, John, and thank you for inviting me. Greetings to your listeners. I think we do have certainly an opportunity to utilize this fantastic infrastructure, I must say, for other things. I would think it's not wasted in a way. And converting this infrastructure, for example, to fight crime is definitely viable. We are in the 4IR era. I think we can use this infrastructure as a much more intelligent road and transport asset management system. And this can go towards improving, things like safety. It can reduce congestion on the roads that we have. So certainly, it's a good way to go.
So there's a real opportunity there. Presumably, though, if they were to use it in the range of ways that you've just described, you'd need to get more than just the roads agency and presumably the Department of Transport involved. I mean, this, for example, if it had a law enforcement component, would need to be connected up with the police. Would they not, though, then have to develop at significant expense back-end systems to make sure that whatever information they're getting translates into usable and actionable data?
Absolutely, you're spot on. I mean, the future now and where we are, we benefit much more from collaborations. And that's what we are not very good or great at. We are not collaborating. This project will definitely require all the resources, all the departments to come on board. Department of Transport, definitely. The safety police, definitely needs to be there. I mean, if you are talking about a traffic management, road safety, including the infrastructure part of it, in other words, to try and assess what kind of vehicles are moving on this road, SANRO needs to be on board. All the departments needs to be on board, but we got to start. That's amazing, and collaborate.
Couple of responses from our listeners. I'll share a couple of them with you, Prof. The first from Excordian, who says, we should just do like KZN, speed monitoring between one point and another. Vehicle tracking for stolen vehicles would scan all vehicles. Are we open to that? I don't know if those two suggestions made directly and implicitly both by Excordian sort of chime with what you know to be possible?
Definitely, that's possible. I mean, if you just look at the e-toll around, Gauteng themselves, we've got a number of them. And between sections, we can be able to monitor speed. We can be able to detect, any situation that needs emergency response. What are the hotspots along the sections? Which sections are prone to crashes? And the like, including vehicle detection itself, by criminal identifications and the like. That's definitely possible.
And another one then from Gareth, who says there was a tender out for advertising on the gantries from Sunroll. The tender should be available online. I mean, obviously that doesn't fit in, but with what we've been discussing, except in the sense that it might be a way of mitigating some of the costs. Could these things have advertising as well, or does that get in the way of implementing the technology solutions?
I hope he hesitant, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
To go for advertising, that would detract from the main goal.
Right.
As an intelligent infrastructure, maybe later on. But with what it can be able to do right now, it's possible for the infrastructure to be sustainable in the long run. Take, for example, when you include predictive analytics in the infrastructure itself, we'll be able to perform road maintenance in a much more planned manner and therefore save a lot of money that will offset, the small amounts that you may realize from the adverts as somebody has, suggested. There are a lot more benefits, if properly planned, that we can draw and gain from the infrastructure this massive.
One of the things that struck me while you were talking about the various options, Professor, is that it doesn't sound to me like you can do this in bits and pieces. Because, for example, if you're doing speed tracking or you're following the progress of a stolen vehicle, you can't have the system die out on the basis of still to be completed in 12 months. Would this require a massive investment upfront and therefore an appropriate financial instrument like a bond, for example?
I think quite a lot has been invested in this.
Right.
In this infrastructure, and it's possible almost in the shortest period to make these things, Internet of Things, and connect them and work as a whole network. I wouldn't say it would need a lot of investment into it, but coordination and planning and defining clearly what is it that we want to get out of this kind of infrastructure. That's what can get us, ahead and going. A lot of investment has already been done compared to what might be needed, in order to make this sustainable. It's a shame that at the moment this infrastructure is not doing anything.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. Yes. Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Professor Innocent Musonda, joining us from the University of Johannesburg, where he is a professor of construction project management, but also doing extensive research into infrastructure and digitalization. I think this is very interesting. I really do. I mean, these gantries are standing all over Gauteng, and if they can be put to some genuine and valid use. I liked what he said at the end, that the bulk infrastructure, or maybe the big capital items, have already been bought, and that with the way technology allows you to do things with minimal infrastructure in many instances, he's not expecting that they would need massive spending. So if you hear about massive spending coming up, then maybe a little bell may need to go off in our collective heads, and we need to ask some questions. Origin is very, very optimistic about this and says the e-tails can be used to trace criminals and to know their vicinities. We'll find out more about this as this unfolds. 4:27.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, the start of a full week of trading. Last week a little strange. Obviously, the world worked on a 5-day week. We had 3. How are we looking on day 1?
Good afternoon to you, John. Not great, I'm afraid. And that's basically because of the more war talk between the US and Iran today. So we had Brent crude up over 5%. The dollar was stronger. Iran's Navy said it had stopped a US warship from entering the Strait of Hormuz. The US seems to deny that. They say that the US Navy sent 2 ships through there and that they got through fine and that they then escorted 2 other ships. Hard to know unless you're actually sitting there with binoculars watching the things yourself. But that just has raised concerns about what is going to happen. As a result, Brent crude up past $110 a barrel today. The ore share down 0.5% at 114,569 points. Financials down 1.5%, industrials flat, resources down 0.25%. So financials down quite strongly on this news. Standard Bank are down 4.35. We see Investec are down 2.37, and some of the consumer shares are down as well. So Truworths are down 2.26, and Boxer is down 2.79. Well, Grindrod is down nearly 3%. That's the logistics firm. Pick n Pay down 2.34% on the day. John, news today that they're starting a Section 189 process. Normally that means people are being retrenched. That's not happening here. What they're doing is they're saying to their 22,000 workers, you actually need to change the working patterns. You can't be working Monday to Friday 9 to 5. You have to work more on weekends. At the moment, people, as I understand it, who work on a Sunday at Pick n Pay get paid twice as much. The industry average is more like 1.5. So they say the group is overstaffed during the week, understaffed during weekends, which has become a major shopping period. So the market, I think, sort of seeing it kind of as an admission of how big the problems are at Pick n Pay, and that's why it's down. We Buy Cars is up 2.29%. ShopRite is up 1.5%, and Valterra up 1.5% as well. And Aspen up again, up 1.3% on the day. The Competition Commission saying it's referring an agreement between DSTV and the set-top box maker LTEC to the Competition Tribunal. LTEC had agreed not to enter the pay TV market where MultiChoice operates. The Commission saying that means that arrangement constitutes dividing up the market. And then in the US, we see, mainly because of higher oil prices and those concerns, things tending negative. I say tending because the Dow Jones is down 0.43, the Nasdaq is up 0.08, the S&P 500 is down 0.03. So you can call it flat if you like. The gold price, $4,558.11 an ounce. Platinum, $1,981.40. Brent crude, $110.71. And the rand to the dollar, 16.69 to the euro, 19.54 to the British pound, 22.63. Stephen Crotus, EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, thank you. Back with us a little bit later on the show. 29 minutes to 5. The very latest Eyewitness News now. Mbali Dlamini is back. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. We begin with news just in. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme has been placed under administration once again following another period of instability and governance concerns. This effectively means the Student Financial Aid Scheme's board has been dissolved and the entity will temporarily be run by an administrator. This follows the recent resignation of 2 board members, including acting chairperson Mokoena Maluleke. Maluleke resigned just 5 months after his appointment, having replaced another chairperson who had also stepped down. Speaking at a media briefing in Pretoria today, Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela says the decision was taken to stabilize NSFAS.
Intensified. There were increasing disputes around governance processes, executive appointment processes, and broader governance matters. The issue before government, therefore, became much broader than the narrow question of whether the board could technically convene meetings.
Cape Town's rival taxi associations, Hanta and Codeta, say peace talks between them are progressing well. Tensions between the Cape's 2 largest taxi organizations have led to deadly violence over the years, often driven by disputes over lucrative taxi routes. Leaders from both associations met at the Nyanga taxi rank today to discuss issues affecting the industry. Hanta chairperson Kulego Sikyebi says progress is being made towards securing lasting peace between the two.
I think it's the first time since I became a taxi operator in the plus or minus 15 years to sit around at Nyanga with Codeta executive and then speaking the one language, which is peace. And then we want to show the whole South Africa, the whole Africa, that these 2 mother boards can sit around the table, agreeing on speak one language.
Codeta chairperson Nceba Enge says they remain committed to the ongoing peace talks.
I want to allude what Mr. Shebi said pertaining to our presence in this boardroom. It's been quite a long time that we've been here, but now today we are here. That on its own shows that we are serious about peace that we are formulating at these 2 associations.
And police are investigating the circumstances behind the deaths of 3 people after a monster truck drove into a crowd in South Colombia. Video footage shows people running as a truck crashes through a barrier and plows into the crowd before coming to a stop. Authorities have confirmed that at least 38 people were injured. Police say there may have been an issue with the truck's brakes. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 26 and 27 degrees.
We've got a number of issues on the N1, both south and north in the Midrand area, but let's look at those affecting the south. There's a stationary vehicle on the N1 south after Allendale Road. There's also one by the Ram, that is to New Road. The shoulder lane is affected there. Also, the earlier one reported the shoulder lane has been affected, so please do drive with caution.
It's the news just in this hour. NSFAS has been placed under administration once again following another period of instability as well as governance concerns.
702 afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
What constitutes trauma? That if you feel that your parents traumatized you, or it's the other way around, that your child is telling you they were traumatized, what is considered trauma?
Trauma, as we said last week already, that it's not the actual event, it's what happens internally within the person when the event happens. And it's a disorder of time. So sometimes something happens to you when you are 3 years of age and you carry that into your adulthood. And that's why we talk about heal the inner child, because what then happens is that thing that happened to you sits in the subconscious and it waits for you.
Dr. Gitumetse Mashego.
702 afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Westgrow. Their senior manager, Edu Invest Wendy Viljoen, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
Illegal water connections have serious consequences for the city's water supply. When pipelines are tampered with, it damages infrastructure, reduces system pressure, and can leave entire communities without water. Johannesburg Water continues to remove illegal connections and strengthen monitoring across the network to protect supply. Residents are encouraged to report illegal connections or suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg on 0800 002 587. Protect our water infrastructure. Protect our water supply. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
Let's hear from Al, owner of Johnson's Cable, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
I thought it was going to be difficult to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Switching was so quick and easy. I'm happy with the premium that I'm paying now.
For electrical, tradesman services, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702. WhatsApp John.
On 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Hi, John. Hi to the rest of the 702 listeners. On Friday, I was driving with my 5-year-old daughter and we were passing through the e-toll, and she asked me, Daddy, what is this? And I couldn't explain what it is. So I just said, no, this is what the police use to scan stolen vehicles. So yeah, I think if this could be used for that would be great for us. Thank you. This is Bongani from Davidson.
Yeah, lively debate prompted by news that came out today, or certainly the article I read was published today off News 24 about how SANRAL on the one hand, the Gauteng government on the other, are in talks about developing a business plan to put all the e-toll infrastructure to some kind of use. Maybe you've got a thought on what can be done with that. 22 minutes now to 5 o'clock. I mentioned to you earlier we played to you clips of various executive mayors. They were asked to rate how they think they've performed in Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. The executive mayors gave themselves 8 out of 10. A more modest assessment of his own work from Cyril Xaba, the executive mayor of eThekwini, who gave himself 5, but did frame that by saying that what he was putting in place would eventually move up the mark curve towards a number that he would be much more satisfied with. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you out of that, because I said there'd be a follow-up question, is this. In quite a few jobs, people are actually asked to rate themselves. There's some sort of assessment. They say, how do you think you're doing? And I'm really keen to know how you've responded to that. I don't think I've been in that position for a while. Certainly not in any formal way in the place where I work, unless I missed the question, which is probably why I might have got a poor mark. But seriously, though, when you ask to rate yourself, are you falsely modest? Do you feel that, hey, if I don't blow my own trumpet, it's going to be dead quiet in here, so may as well give it a blow? Give me your thoughts. I said I haven't been asked that question lately, but in fact, I've just been asked that question about 30 minutes ago by Alfred, who said, "Hi, John, if you were to score yourself in your current job, how much will you give yourself just out of interest?" And the answer I sent to Alfred was 7. And this is not in any way designed to elicit any comments from anybody else. I can explain why I would give myself that score, because you asked me what would I score myself, not what would listeners or my bosses or my colleagues score me. So that's my number for myself, 7 out of 10. What's yours? And if you're asked that, what was your approach? I'd be really keen to know. 20-5.
EWN Sport.
Okay, it's time to talk to Tolakele Mganga again. Tolakele, Premier League football on a Monday afternoon. It's a bank holiday, I think,
yes,
in the UK.
Yes, it is, John.
Aha,
yes, it is.
Got it.
And the day's first game sees Chelsea taking on Nottingham Forest. We're 40 minutes into that encounter, and it's Forest that lead 2-0. Igor Jesus is amongst the goals, having scored the second one from the penalty spot. At 9 p.m., Everton will host Manchester City, who are looking to reduce the gap at the top. That's back down to 3 points after leaders Arsenal beat Fulham on Saturday. With 3 games left in the season, Pep Guardiola is adamant it would still be a successful campaign, even if they falter in the title race and the FA Cup.
If you tell me now we're going to play, hopefully it's not going to happen, but we are going to lose the 6 games remaining, the team will be good in the same way. It's not going to change now. When you arrive in the last stages, arriving and fighting for the titles, it's because we have been a really, really good season. So nothing's going to change my opinion. So no complaint at all.
English media reports are claiming that Sir Alex Ferguson is conscious after undergoing precautionary checks in hospital, having felt unwell ahead of Sunday's Premier League match between Manchester United and Liverpool. The 84-year-old had been at Old Trafford for the game between his former club and their Merseyside rivals. And speaking after the Red Devils' 3-2 win, interim head coach Michael Carrick wished his former manager all the best.
All I can say is I wish him and thought so. I was very affected by it, the news, and then we just hope he's all right. I just don't know the latest, but we hope for him to be in good shape, and we wish him all the best. I'm certainly thinking of him, and hopefully the result, when he hears about it, gives him a good boost.
And Durban City ended KwaZulu-Natal's 17-year wait for a trophy by clinching the Nedbank Cup following their 2-1 final win over TS Galaxy. After the game, goalkeeper Darren Keat announced that he'll retire from professional football at the end of the season after an almost two-decade career. Success for the Durban side also sees them win their first piece of silverware and further enhances the reputation of Bitso Dladla, who's been in interim charge since the sacking of Gavin Hunt back in December.
If we looked at it that way, we would have put ourselves under unnecessary pressure. But with the leadership that we've got, only now that I'm realizing our chairman was advising us that we must not look at that. We must treat this cup final in isolation, because that will bring pressure that maybe we could not be able to control.
Tolakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's find out what's happening on the roads now with Nkosi Corner, Maligamnisi, N1 South, but the problem's sort of moving up north now, Midrand giving us grief, yeah?
Absolutely. John, good afternoon from the traffic desk. A number of problems coming out of the Midrand area. There's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South after Allendale Road. It's affecting the shoulder lane there, and traffic is slowing down. There's also one on the N1 North now, that's before New Road from Allendale Road. So between those 2 points, do expect some congestion. Please be patient and drive with care. Traffic also slows on the N1 South ramp to New Road. That's due to the shoulder lane being closed as a result of a stationary vehicle as well. There's also one on the N3 South at Van Buren Road. This is slowing down traffic around the Bedford View area. Also be on the lookout for one on the N12 westbound at the Rietfontein interchange. This is precisely in Boksburg. A number of traffic lights still out. Let's focus on on the ones in Johannesburg, in North Riding at Malibonga and Mahogany, in Edenville at Monderfontein Road and Van Riebeck Road. Of course, that says you really move out a bit there. And in Kyalami at the R55 and Main Road, we're told that the pointsmen are on duty, so hopefully they are assisting in easing the frustration at those intersections. If there's anything else that you'd like us to know about, we'd love to hear from you so that we keep you abreast with all that you need to know about what's happening on the road. Send us your latest traffic update on X. We are at EWN Traffic, or simply send us a message or voice note on WhatsApp on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Still to come on 702 Drive, a quite extraordinary story of a police officer, head of the diving unit out in Mpumalanga, whose one of his most recent assignments involved him tying a rope around a 500-kilogram crocodile and getting hoisted up into the air alongside the crocodile. We'll fill in the details in just a moment. But first, let's turn to the story that was leading in Bali's bulletin at 4:30. NSFAS, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, has been placed under some kind of new management, under administration, is what people are saying. And the updates on what's going on there coming up now with our EWN colleague, Alpha Ramoshwana. Alpha, what's going on here?
Good afternoon, John. Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela announced at a media briefing in Pretoria today in Tate John that he has decided to place NSFAS under administration. And effectively what this means, John, is that the NSFAS board has now been dissolved and the entire leadership structure as well. And he cites that this is because of deep-rooted financial poor governance and instability issues at the national. That this is not the first time that NSFAS has been dissolved. It was first dissolved in around 2014 for the very same reason, 2018 rather, for the very same reasons. It was dissolved in April 2024 for the exact same reasons, and it's being dissolved for the third time now because NSFAS has been found to be unstable. Now, Dr. John, just last week, the acting chairperson of the NSFAS board, Mogwena Maluleke, resigned, and he was saying that the environment had become deeply toxic to operate in, and he was replacing another chairperson who also resigned in November last year, John. So we've been having resignations from the NSFAS board over a period of a year or so, because the current board had in place for just over a year. And the resignations, according to the minister, prove that there's some systematic issues at the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. So the big story as far as NSFAS is concerned is that the board has been dissolved.
It really is an extraordinary set of circumstances, wouldn't you say, Alpha? I mean, I realize it is a complex job. NSFAS, it has many moving parts. It has a huge number of clients, i.e. the students and their families. But surely its goals ought to be pretty straightforward. You use the money as effectively as you can. You put in place systems that get the money to the deserving beneficiaries at as little cost and at the greatest speed possible. I mean, did the minister give any idea as to what these board members are fighting about? It's really appalling because they do get paid.
Yeah, he didn't give a clear indication of what exactly the board members have been fighting about, but he did say that even making the smallest set of decisions, there would be major disagreements within the board and they wouldn't be able to reach a conclusion on matters pertaining to NSFAS and decision making. And so it seems that the issues that they have been experiencing over the past year or so are not necessarily that they are failing to run NSFAS, but the personal vendettas within the board and the top leadership of NSFAS are getting in the way of them leading the organization as they should. And this is exactly what the Minister of Higher Education said, that there has been those disagreements over small decisions that got in the way, and hence we have been seeing the resignations over the past few months. In fact, the previous chairperson who resigned in November, also stated similar reasons, saying that it was extremely toxic. The NSFAS board was extremely toxic. They weren't seeing eye to eye, internal factions inside as well. So operating and running the organization was becoming increasingly difficult.
Thank you so much, Alpha Ramashwana. I really hope that people lay bare what exactly this board was fighting about. I mean, this is a national responsibility, but board members do get compensated. So this certainly wasn't a volunteer gig as far as I understand it. And if there weren't really excellent reasons for their disagreements, then I think we should know about it. And if there were excellent reasons for their disagreements, we need to know what the issues were. But this is just, it really is ridiculous, actually, that a structure that is put in place with a very clear-eyed mandate. I get the delivery systems may be complicated at times. I get that they may be contested at times. But this is a mandate that is absolutely clear. There's money that is made available to ease the path and ease the access to higher education in the first place for South Africans who, for a range of reasons, would have been deprived of that. And then you get on with it. Anyone ever serve on a NSFAS board who's listening? Give us a call. What could people be finding to fight about that is in any way related? I know people can find many things to fight about, but that is related to the core mission of the entity. Taking over, by the way, as administrator, Professor Hlengani Matebula, who appears to have a stellar record working in all sorts of structures, including serving on various boards of the Reserve Bank. He's also been a full professor at the Business School of the University of Limpopo. So we'll see how he gets on. We'll see if we can get him for an interview either on this show or elsewhere on 702 Drive. 9 minutes to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, a quite extraordinary story coming out of Mpumalanga, all of it rooted, I should say at the start, in a tragedy. The tragedy was a local businessman in the tourism sector, Gabriel Batista, was attempting to cross the Crocodile on the flooded Kamatiput low water bridge, which I think spans the Crocodile River quite near the town's golf club. He was swept away by the flood water, and in the course of searching for him, the possibility was considered that he might have been taken and killed by a crocodile. A search then began looking for a crocodile that could possibly have been involved in this. And to pick up this story, we're joined now by Captain Johan Potgieter, who joins us from Nelspruit. He's provincial coordinator for SAPS divers in Mpumalanga. Captain Potgieter, a very good afternoon to you. I understand that in trying to answer this piece of the puzzle, and obviously for families who are grieving, as the Batista family would have been, the importance of getting some kind of mortal remains absolutely crucial as they begin their grieving process. But you identified a crocodile that you thought might be the one that needed to be looked at more carefully. How did you conclude that by looking? Because I mean, the Crocodile River is, as the name suggests, full of crocs.
Yes. Good afternoon. Yes, that's quite true. Now, luckily for us, we work that area frequently, and through the years and years that we've been busy doing this job, we've realized that the crocodiles have certain mannerisms after they've eaten a big meal. They're not that active anymore. They don't run away from the helicopters anymore. The drones don't bother them anymore. They have to stay in the sun for a while to get their metabolism going so that they can get the digestive the process going. So with this particular one, he didn't move away more than about 150 meters from where the person was washed into the river. Mm-hmm. And, every day we would fly over him 2 or 3 times and he wouldn't move. He would just stay there. And you could also see on his stomach that he was full. So that's when, after we did the search for the 2 or 3 days that we're busy there, remember, we didn't find anything else.
Yes.
So then you come to the conclusion that, okay, if he's not there somewhere, he's got to be in someone. Mm. So that's how we then decided on this specific one, because he was so close to the place where he got lost. And also because, like I said, you could see his belly was full.
Right.
And that's why we decided on this specific crocodile.
Now, this is a massive crocodile, or was, because you had to shoot it, obviously, to take the next steps. 4.5 meters long, weighed almost half a ton, 500 kilograms. And then you had to get the croc out of an island, and this is where you got involved. Describe for us what you had to do.
Yes, that's correct. The place where the crocodile was basking in the sun the whole time, it was inaccessible from the side. So if we wanted to get to it, we had to cross either that mainstream section, or we had to cross about 6 or 7 other islands to get to him. And because of the weight of the crocodile, we knew that thing is going to be massive. There was no way that 3 or 4 of us would be able to pull him through those rapids with a rope.
Yes.
And that is why we decided to go down with a helicopter. And luckily, the Parks Board guys, they move a lot of animals in that specific way, just not with the policeman dangling underneath.
Yes.
But the problem was, remember, how do we time on? So someone had to go and do it. Someone had to go down, go to the croc, time up, and then get him hoisted. And that probably, can I say, was my lucky day. So it was my turn to do it. And luckily for me, like I said, it went well. Because remember now, a lot of things could have gone wrong.
Yes.
As you could see, that specific rope is called a long line.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't on a hoist. Now the hoist, they can control it. The helicopter can stand still. And the co-pilot or the engineer on the helicopter, he then with a button can let you go down or come up. With the long line, the pilot has to do it.
Yes.
He has to physically lift the helicopter or let it down. The other problem is, remember, I'm hanging right in the middle under the helicopter. So the pilot can't see me. So already there now, you see where the thing comes in. If he puts me down in a tree or whatever, he won't even know it. And secondly, then also, the equipment. That's where you start to know that you have to trust your equipment. If my harness broke, it was a long way down. The rope could have broken. And also on the rope, on the footage, you'll see that we linked 2 ropes to get a bit of distance because the trees were so high.
Right.
That link could have broken. So apart from that, the rope is connected at the bottom of the helicopter. So the engineer has a little button.
Mm-hmm.
If something goes wrong, he just presses the button, that thing releases.
Yes.
And then you fall down. He can't pull you up or anything like that. And, so we were lucky. The helicopter could have had a malfunction.
Yeah.
The pilot might have had to do an emergency landing with me dangling underneath there. So then things could have gone south very quickly.
So,
also on that specific day, we had a lot of wind there. So, at a certain stage, I was worried I might be blown into the trees and so on. But luckily, it didn't happen.
Well, it sounds incredibly intricate, and you are, I'm sure, closer to a crocodile than you ever thought you would be in your life. If we can move it forward, then, Captain Potgieter, the stomach of the crocodile was opened up, and what was found there, as I understand it, a large number of shoes, for example, as well as human remains.
That's correct. Yeah, we won't get too graphic with the details.
Yes,
it was the human remains. And then, like the flip-flops, the Crocs and those beach sandals,
mm-hmm.
that there were 6 of those in the tummy of the crocodile. And about that, we can speculate. We can speculate if when he ate them, if there were feet in them or not.
Yes.
It can be that the crocodile just ate them thinking maybe it was a fish or something. I wouldn't know. But I've done some dissections on crocodiles in the past. And this is the first time that I've taken out so many shoes, or can we say slip-flops out of a crocodile. So that for me also was something new.
Well, Captain Potgieter, well done to you and your team. Obviously, a lot of pride you take in what was technically very difficult, but also for the Batista family, and we send them our condolences. Very, very important that there's one more step towards at least trying to understand what happened in Gabriel Batista's final hours. Quite extraordinary the way they went about this, and remarkable that they managed to achieve everything without any further injury or loss of life. 7:02 Drive, it's 2 minutes to 5.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Foster Mohale, we understand that contact tracing is being done to see if the two patients who were in South Africa may have infected other persons.
There's that possibility to try to identify anyone who was in close contact with those who tested positive. And this is part of our response to contain further spread of the disease.
And what do we know about Hanta virus? Is this something that we are familiar with in South Africa?
It's not common in South Africa. It's a disease which spreads through infected rodents.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
35 African utility CEOs have been confirmed for Enlit Africa's invitation-only CEO forum on unbundling, prosumer management and financial sustainability. This executive experience features project briefings, deal rooms and ministerial dialogues from 19 to 21 at the Cape Town International Convention Centre.
You can become a victim of a legal problem, wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Still shopping around for a saving here and a deal there? Choose Checkers, SA's #1 in value supermarket. And save on deals like Dower Egbert's Instant Coffee, 200 or 230 grams for $174.99. Save 55 Rand. Hyman's Frozen Pizza Pockets, any 6-pack for $119.99. And Colgate Toothpaste, Total or Pro 75 mils, any 2 for 80 Rand. Valid until 10 May, only at Checkers.
This is EWN.
NSFAS placed under administration yet again, and another recall of a popular vehicle brand in the country. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Zamini. Let's begin with news just in. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme has been placed under administration once again following another period of instability and governance concerns. This effectively means the scheme's board has been dissolved and the entity will temporarily be run by an administrator. It follows the recent resignation of 2 board members, including acting chairperson Mogwena Maluleke. Maluleke resigned just 5 months after his appointment, having been replaced on another chairperson who also stepped down. Speaking at a media briefing in Pretoria today, Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela said the decision was taken to stabilize NSFAS.
Governance instability within the board itself intensified. There were increasing disputes around governance processes, executive appointment processes, and broader governance matters. The issue before government, therefore, became much broader than the narrow question of whether the board could technically convene meetings.
There has been yet another recall of a popular vehicle brand, this time affecting 2 Hyundai models. The National Consumer Commission has announced the recall of 14 Hyundai i30 FD and Elantra HD vehicles sold back in 2011. The affected cars were found to have faulty airbag systems, which could pose a safety risk in the event of a crash. Commission spokesperson Petron Daba is urging owners of these 2011 models to visit their nearest Hyundai dealerships for assistance.
We also say to consumers who no longer own these vehicles, who might have sold the vehicles to the next consumer, do ensure that you contact Hyundai customer care as well and assist them with tracing the current owner or owners of those vehicles.
Some locals at the Libombo border post in Mpumalanga remain fearful that anticipated unrest in Mozambique may spill over into South Africa and affect their livelihoods. There is a heavy police and army presence at the port today following large volumes of travellers yesterday. Over 24,000 people moved in and out of the country yesterday through the Libombo border post, while border management authorities have attributed this to holiday travel due to the long weekend. Some police officers and locals officials believe the rush was caused by fear of a protest in Mozambique near the port in retaliation to last week's anti-immigrant marches in South Africa. Khomotso Modise is there.
Outside the Lebombo border is an established informal market where vendors sell cooked food, soft drinks and snacks. But today has been a visibly slow day for business as the border has been relatively quiet after a rush of travellers who made their way in and out of the country last night. This woman, whose parents were hawkers here and now she owns a stall, says the last time she saw similar volumes of travellers was over a decade ago. She says she's fearful and uncertain about what retaliatory protests by Mozambicans would mean for her business.
This affects us because our customers will not travel. The Mozambicans support us more than the locals. If the strike comes to South Africa, we would die of hunger. We would have to do things we are not prepared to do just to feed our children.
The border has been closely monitored with armed officers at the gates and BMA drones in the sky. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Lebombo border post in Mpumalanga.
And in Bangladesh, more than 300 children have died from measles since March, while the number of suspected cases has reached over 41,700. The government data comes as the country battles one of the worst measles outbreak in decades. According to reports, governments say some children were already in a critical condition. Health officials are working to vaccinate children in the country with the support of the UN Children's Agency, the World Health Organization, as well as security forces. Gold is trading at $4,563.41 an ounce. The rand is at 16.71 to the dollar, 22.64 to the pound, 19.57 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $113.65 a barrel.
The Midrand area is still problematic this afternoon with a stationary vehicle on the N1 South after Allendale Road affecting traffic there. It is also then led to the closure of the shoulder lane. There's also a stationary vehicle on the N1 North that's before New Road, and it is causing congestion right from Allendale Road.
In your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns claim another win as they edge closer to a record-extending 9th league title in a row. Manchester United savour a first league double over rivals Liverpool in a decade. And Nat Skivia Brandt out for the T20 World Cup after suffering a calf injury.
A cloudy Tuesday with widespread showers and thundershowers expected in Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 11 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 11 and 21, and Vereeniging 8 and 19 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: the National Student Financial Aid Scheme has been placed under administration once again following another period of instability as well as governance concerns.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
We're calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 6 minutes past 5. Good to have you with us on the show. Coming up over the next half an hour or so, I see a lot of you are responding to that interview with Captain Potgieter, who heads the police divers unit down in Mpumalanga. He was narrating his story about how they tracked down a crocodile that may have been implemented in the death of a Komatipoort businessman, Gabriel Batista. Quite a few wanting to talk about that, and quite a few of you as well asking questions that I asked about self-assessment earlier in the show. If you didn't hear it, we had the self-assessment of various executive mayors about how well they are doing their jobs. And then I asked you if you've ever had to assess yourself. How did you go about it? Did you think, well, I shouldn't, push it too far? Or did you think, well, if I don't put forward my case, who is actually going to do it? So we got quite a few comments there. And then a major legal case just getting underway in the High Court in Johannesburg today. I beg your pardon, in Pretoria, where a number of leading law firms, some of the probably the four of the biggest in the country are challenging a new government policy aimed at transforming the legal sector. The plaintiffs say that what is being proposed is unconstitutional and will present them with immense economic challenges. There's far more to it than that, but we'll explore it a little bit later with one of the people who are responding to this. Kathleen Matolo Dlepu is joining us to give us her thoughts. That's in 3 or 4 minutes' time. It's 8 minutes past 5.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. John here. I'm from Gauteng. Look, what I do, I normally, every now and then, like probably every quarter, I'll ask my team, how do I perform? Like, then I'll take whatever they give me and have that as my average. So because I cannot rate myself. Because if I were to rate myself, I'll always underrate myself from where I'm actually or from where I'm at. Like, even when I still play sports, so I'll always like the guys would ask, like for instance in cricket, then they're like, are you a fast bowler? And I'm like, no, I'm just a seamer. Then they will see when I start bowling and stuff that I'm actually a fast bowler. So I always underrate myself when it comes to that part. Thank you, man. Great job.
Good day, John. I'm so proud of Captain Potgieter. May God bless him for wonderful job. The police work that he's doing. I'm listening to the interview that you are doing. Keep it up, Mr. Potgieter. May God bless you. You are doing a good job. We are proud of you in South Africa. Good job. Thanks, God. Thanks, John.
Good afternoon, John. I think it was a despicable act to have shot that crocodile. The crocodile was only doing what crocodiles are supposed to do. They do not know any better. Why should they die for something that is in their nature? The same thing happens sometimes in our game parks. If an animal attacks a person, then they shoot the animal. That is so wrong, and it must stop. The animal is only acting in a natural way. Nicholas, Florida.
Yeah, Nicholas raising a very interesting point. I'm getting some shaking of heads in the studio. I don't know if they're shaking their heads in agreement. Yes, there is such a thing, or they're disagreeing. But I'd like to get your view. I mean, Nicholas is just saying, when animals get in these situations involving humans, invariably action is taken against the animal. In his view, despicable. Give us a call on that. Anonymous shares something on performance rating, and says, I recently had my performance discussion with my manager. I rated myself as 4 out of 5, as I believe I consistently go above and beyond. He raised one concern during the discussion that I was not previously aware of and asked if I still felt I deserved a 4. I said yes, but he indicated he would prefer a 3, which I don't agree with. I think rating systems, by the way, out of 5 give you very little room to maneuver. I mean, for example, if it was out of 10, she would have given herself an 8, and he would have said, well, will you accept a 7? But because it's out of 5, you move from 4 to 3, which is 60%, and you think you're 80. Well, somewhere in the middle is 70. So if you're going to do this rating, make it at least out of 10. I mean, I don't think you have to make it out of 400, but, between 5 and 10, I would say 10 offers a little bit more flexibility. 12 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Let's get the very latest from out on the roads with Nkosi Corner. The N1 was a trouble spot. I don't know if it's still a problem. Presumably, everything else is getting busy too.
Absolutely. And Dr. John, good afternoon from the traffic desk. The N1 remaining a challenge if anything's changed. If you're traveling both north and south, please do let us know. I'll let you know in just a few how to go about it. But let's tell you about some of those details. There is a stationary vehicle on the N1 South after Allendale Road affecting traffic there. In fact, slowing it down because of the obstruction to the shoulder lane there. There's also one on the N1 North. That's before New Road from Allendale Road. So between those 2 points, do expect some delays. Traffic also slows on the N1 South to New Road, precisely the N1 South ramp, due to the shoulder lane being closed as a result, again, of another stationary vehicle. There's also one on the N3 South at Van Buren Road, slowing down traffic. This is around the Bedford View area. Also look out for one on the N12 westbound at Rietfontein interchange in the Boksburg area. Also, there are some roadworks causing some delays on the N12 westbound after Kumaro Street, impacting the shoulder lane, slowing down traffic. As said, this is around the Glen Shopping Mall. Stationary vehicle on the N12 westbound before Xavier Street. This is as you approach then the Glen Shopping Mall. One of the 4 lanes has been affected. As you leave Roodepoort towards the west of the province, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South before Gordon Road. The shoulder lane has been impacted, so please then do proceed with caution. In Sandton, the M1 North and Grayson Drive, traffic lights are out there. Pointsmen on duty, as well as in four-ways at Winnie Mandela Drive and Monte Casino. Let's head on over to the capital in Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive in the Central Business District at Thabo Sihume and Johannes Ramohwase. Pointsmen also, we're told, are on duty there. Here are the details to reach us, because we want to give you precise reports and make sure that you make it home safe and sound. Send us your latest traffic update on X. We are at EWN Traffic, or simply send us a message or voice note on WhatsApp on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help you answer your child's random school drive questions, but they can help you get them to school on time. Seeing them on your route just makes you feel better. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
16 minutes past 5. Let's talk now about a very significant court case that will play out over the next few days in a high court in Pretoria. It's a legal challenge by 4 of the country's largest and long-established law firms, I think it's fair to say. They're challenging a new government policy, not so new, in fact, implemented in September 2024, the broad-based BEE Legal Sector Code. The law firms involved, Norton Rose, Fulbright, SA, Bowmans, Weber Wenzel, and Worksmans. The application has been brought. The matter is now underway, and there are a number of respondents, including an organization represented by my next guest. Kathleen Matolo-Dlepu is co-director of the firm Basadi Bamulao and is also and on the executive of the SA Women Lawyers Association. Ms. Matolo-Dlepu, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me, John.
What is the problem here that the code is addressing? Is it the view of yourself, your organization, and others who stand with you, like the Black Lawyers Association and others, that these law firms are deliberately holding black lawyers back?
Yes, definitely they are. And there is inadequate access to sustainable flow of quality legal work to black firms. And there's discriminatory procurement practices by the private sector. And there's poor and inconsistent briefing patterns from state organs. And all in all, it's unequal access to legal work.
Say a bit more about that. I mean, how do you measure that? Is it based on raw numbers? In other words, who is briefed, and then you break that down by race and perhaps by gender? Is that the basis of it? Because presumably there would be other variables as well.
Definitely, we have done an evidence of inequality. And this started in 2014. And research was done by the Center for Applied Legal Studies, and it found that in South Africa, corporate law firms surveyed are dominated by white males. 80% of the CEOs and 72% of the managing partners were white males. Then another survey was done by LexisNexis in 2021, and the situation remained the same. The very recent statistics come from the Legal Practice Council, and 75% of partners or directors in law firms, especially the big six, are white. So basically, it's stunting black firms, and black firms are unable to grow.
I mean, you made a reference to the briefs given by government entities and so on. I mean, I would have expected that would have changed dramatically, given the stated commitments of this government to transformation.
Unfortunately, even the state-owned entities tend to show preferences, and they are not actually following the BEE, and they are actually contributing to unequal access to work, in the sense that they've got their own people that they prefer to brief, which are white and male, and unfortunately, the blacks are not growing in this field.
But before this became a matter before the court and before the code was set down, Ms. Matolo Dlepu, I mean, when you engage with state-owned entities on this issue, because I would assume not you necessarily as an individual, but the organizations that are standing with government on the code must surely have met with Transnet, Eskom, and many others as well, and said, this is what you guys are doing, why are you doing it? What answers did you get?
Basically, they'll always say they are briefing white, but the evidence, black firms, but the evidence is not there. Unfortunately, it's a habit, prejudice and a habit. Unfortunately, even our own do the same. I think they just follow the lead, depending if the board does not make a directive that this should be followed, they just don't do it. That's why we are here. And we have been engaging, especially the Black Lawyers Association, the South African Women Lawyers, I don't know for how many times.
If you prevail in court, and the top 6 law firms, I mentioned the 4 that are bringing the matter to court, and they do in fact take the steps that the law would require of them. In other words, I'll just give people one advantage. Black legal practitioners who are equity directors as a percentage of board members. Year 1, that needs to be 30%. By year 5, it needs to be 50%. If the big firms transform in the way that the code requires, how do you think that will change the reality facing aspiring new or old, but aspiring black law firms hoping to grow? I mean, this doesn't really change their reality, does it?
Actually, if they do that, it actually gives the black firms who have never gotten opportunities to specialize legal work, will have opportunities to be in joint ventures in association with these big firms. What you have to understand is that we are not saying white firms should not get the work. What we are saying is that let's share the cake and make sure that you transfer skills to black to come to your own, to the same level as you are. Unfortunately, they are not doing it.
But is this not following, in a way, a particular pattern that some people say is the weakness of BEE, that you may well get, let's say, for example, a substantially transformed Bowmans, and then Eskom, I'm using them as a random example, obviously not a specific one, ma'am, but I mean, Eskom may say, well, what is the problem? We are briefing a majority black-owned firm. I'm not seeing yet how that would then require, let's stay with the Bowman's example, how that would then require them to brief up-and-coming black firms. They may just say, well, we'll do the work.
Unfortunately, we've been 30 years in democracy, and the BE Act has been in operation for so many years. Nothing has come to fruition. And unfortunately, because this is a services industry,
yes,
a generic scorecard does not actually work. That's why there is the legal sector code. The legal sector code addresses the issue of the services industry in that the law practice is actually very unique. It's not like a manufacturing company or what. So
Right.
unfortunately, the triple BE is generic, but this one is really focused and empowering black law and women firms.
Kathleen Matolo Dlepu, thank you very much for your time joining us on 702 Drive. She sits on the executive of the SA Women Lawyers Association and is a co-director at Basadi Bamulao. 24 minutes past 5.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Well, lots of people are scratching their heads and perhaps getting a little alarmed at the same time about something called Hanta virus. We're talking about it because people on a cruise ship, 2 people have died from this. Somebody else seriously ill has been taken to a hospital in Johannesburg, and people are wondering, oh my goodness, what has come to our shores? Well, what has come to our shores? Let's welcome Professor Veronica Uckerman, who is head of infectious diseases at the University of Pretoria. Prof, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. Firstly, definitional, just to give us a framework for our conversation. What exactly is a hantavirus and how dangerous is it? Good afternoon.
Hi, good evening, John and listeners. Thanks for the opportunity. So hantavirus is it's not something that most people would have heard of before. It's actually a zoonotic virus. So in other words, we get it from rodents. It's not endemic in South Africa at all, so it is new to our shores. It's not something we see commonly. Generally, it's not spread person to person. It's actually spread via either the feces or the urine of a rodent. If you have an infestation of rodents, for instance, and somebody was to clean or sweep or aerosolize that would be a way for you to get the hantavirus. It's not airborne like influenza and TB and the kind of things we're usually dealing with.
One of the things that strikes me as particularly problematic, we'll come back to its spread and the levels of risk. But, for example, if you are showing flu-like symptoms, one of the questions you might be asked is, have you been to a malaria area? And then a certain set of investigations naturally follow. Have you been in an area where there are ticks and so on? That would be a similar thread of conversation. But if the question would be, particularly when it's really more or less unknown here, have you been anywhere near rodent droppings? I don't think anybody would know with any certainty.
Yeah, that is true. I think we have to look at a travel history.
Right.
Obviously, I think everybody on the ship will be monitored quite well now, closely, because this is an isolated group cluster event. If you look at travel history, I mean, the Americas, you do get hantavirus. You also get it in areas in Asia and Europe. So that kind of travel history with contact or being exposed to this area,
Yes.
It's not something you think of immediately, which is also, it's one of those viruses that kind of non-specific at the beginning. It's myalgia, it's sore, your body aches, fever,
Right.
non-specific. And it's only when you start complicating that you really think of it. Obviously, we're on high alert now, having had a case. And I think everybody else will be monitored and traced very carefully.
Let's then return and conclude, if we can, Prof, with the thing that's on everybody's minds, because people are saying, oh no, why has this thing come to our shores? Realistically, what would need to happen for this to take any kind of hold in South Africa?
So if we're looking at human-to-human spread, which again, I mean, if you look at WHO, if you look at the history of this virus, it's really, really uncommon.
Yes.
It would be close, intimate, prolonged contact, like a household contact. If you're living in a house with somebody with hantavirus, a spouse, for instance, just passing them by, casual contact, it's not like the respiratory viruses that spread that easily. So this is highly unlikely to be a problem for us. It is contained, it's controlled at the moment. The Gauteng Department of Health and the NICD are working on sequencing it, finding out exactly what's happened. So I think all of that attention will really contain it well.
I suppose a final question, and briefly if you can, Prof, it's just occurred to me, I mean, the cruise ship business is booming in South Africa, a particular point of access, obviously Cape Town, which has a new cruise terminal. I mean, might we need at some point from an epidemiological point of view, need to consider particular protocols when cruise ships come here? I mean, are they known as particular points of incubation?
They're not, and this
Okay.
is what makes this such an interesting, scenario, and why it is getting all of this attention. Because it's not, we get cruise ships frequently, and many travelers, and hantavirus outbreaks are not common at all. So it is suspected that there must be some common source that people were exposed to, and epidemiologically they will be sequenced, they'll be looked at,
Right.
but it is not going to be on every cruise ship, no.
Thanks so much, Professor Veronica Uckerman, Head of Infectious Diseases, joining us from the University of Pretoria, 29 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, welcome again. What kind of day have we had at the start of a full week of trade in a continuously uncertain world?
Yeah, not a great day, I'm afraid, John, mainly because oil prices have been going up again. They're just under $113 a barrel now. That's because of the latest from the Strait of Hormuz, the US President Donald Trump and Iran kind of trading war talk about whether or not Iran stopped a US warship from actually going through the Strait of Hormuz. That pushed the JSE All Share down 0.45%, 114,661 points. Financials down 1.37%. Industrials flat, resources down 1.13, down 0.13 at the end of the day. Pick and Pay down 3% on the day, and this is after Sean Summers, their CEO, explained that they're going to change the working conditions of their 22,000 workers. He says that the group hasn't kept up with how retail has changed. More people shop in the evenings and over weekends. The group seems to be overstaffed during the week, understaffed during the weekend. I think it's sort of really exposed again the gap between Pick and Pay and I suppose Spar, and then your ShopRites and your Woolworths and all the rest. And so that's having an impact on their share price today. Standard Bank down 4.19. I should say that Boxer also down 2.69% on the day, obviously tied to Pick and Pay. Investec down 2.39 and Absa down nearly 2%, while Motus is down 2%. We Buy Cars up 2.63% on the other hand, and some of the platinum miners getting a little bit of momentum. So Implats is up 2%, Northam is up 1.42%, and in fact ShopRite had a good day, they're up 1.39%. The Competition Commission looking at DSTV and LTEC. LTEC does make TV set-top boxes. The Commission says they're taking them to the Competition Tribunal. LTEC had agreed not to enter the pay TV market. MultiChoice did operate there. The Commission says that means that the arrangement constituted dividing up the market is the way that they see it. In the US, starting negative because of what was happening around oil prices, turning a little better now, but still divided. The Dow Jones down nearly 0.5%, down 0.47%. The Nasdaq is up 0.2%. The S&P 500 is up 0.04% at the moment. The gold price, $4,556.79. Platinum, $1,973.60. And Brent crude, $112.87. The rand to the dollar, 16.80 to the euro, 19.65 to the British pound, 22.73. On the Money Show tonight, John, obviously the latest on the fuel price, diesel up by over 6 Rand a litre, petrol up by over 3 Rand. We will talk also about the new price war with promotions at fuel prices. You're going to get asked for more and more points as you go, and of course as the increases add up. We'll look more at the Pick and Pay story, the latest on the sort of BEE arguments in the National Treasury coming up with some new proposals. And then we're talking in How I Make My Money tonight, for the first time, to someone in the energy space. Linda Mabena Ulagunju runs DLO Energy Resources Group. This is the first time I think I've ever spoken to someone who really works in the industry of windmills. And the windmills that create electricity.
Okay.
So looking forward to that. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Very interesting mix indeed. On the Money Show between 6 and 8. You don't want to miss it. You also don't want to miss Mbali Dlamini's update on what's happening out in the wider world. Here she is. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Action SA wants answers from the Finance Minister on how the state will cover rising road accident fund liabilities after a court ruling declared its claim form unlawful. With budget documents indicating the RAF's liabilities to be more than 400 billion rand, the party is raising the alarm about the impact this court ruling will have on unprocessed claims. Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts is currently finalising its inquiry report into the Road Accident Fund. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
Action SA estimates that around 600,000 claims were rejected as a result of the RAF claim form it unlawfully introduced in 2022. Last week's court ruling means these claimants can resubmit their claims. Action SA MP Alan Beasley believes this could push the RAF's liabilities to more than R500 billion and cause it to exceed the financial burdens posed by parastatals like Eskom and Transnet on the public purse.
Action SA has estimated that this court ruling could have implications of close to 180 billion. The RAF certainly does not have the money to fund these claims.
Beasley expects the additional influx of applications will place not only an additional financial burden, but also an operational one on the RAF to process a higher volume of claims.
The lack of rationality has had huge consequences, not only to the Road Accident Fund and to road crash victims, but also to the National Fiscus.
Action SA says it will be exploring all available legal avenues against those responsible. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Cape Town's rival taxi associations, Hanta and Crocodile, say peace talks between them are progressing well. Tensions between the Cape's two largest taxi associations have led to deadly violence over the years, often driven by disputes over lucrative taxi routes. Leaders from both associations met at the Nyanga taxi rank today to discuss issues affecting the industry. Hanta chairperson Kulego Sityebi says progress is being made towards securing lasting peace between the two associations.
I think it's the first time since I became a taxi operator in the plus or minus 15 years to sit around at Nyanga with Crocodile executive and then speaking the one language, which is peace. And then we want to show the whole South Africa, the whole Africa, that these two motherboards can sit around the table, agreeing or speak one language.
Crocodile chairperson Ngeba Enge says they remain committed to the ongoing peace talks.
I want to allude what Mr. Shebi said pertaining to our presence in this boardroom. It's been quite a long time that we've been here, but now today we are here. That on its own shows that we are serious about peace that we are formulating at these two associations.
And Pope Leo XIV is expected to meet U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio later this week. That meeting will come weeks after U.S. President Donald Trump's unprecedented criticism of the pontiff over his anti-war rhetoric. The Pope has increasingly spoke out against international conflicts and the politicians waging them. Thursday's visit will be the second time the Pope and Rubio have met. A cloudy Tuesday with widespread showers and thundershowers expected in Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 8 and 11 degrees and highs of between 18 and 21.
We're seeing a lot of pressure in the Roodepoort area, and we've got a message from one of our listeners, Helen. Thank you very much for it. It says Gordon Road crossing the highway and Hendrik Potgieter is a nightmare. Even the off-ramps onto Gordon Road are severely affected, she says. People have blocked the intersection. Hopefully it does ease as we wind down the day, so please drive with caution.
The top story in EWN. Action SA wants answers from the Finance Minister on how the state will cover rising road accident fund liabilities after a court ruling declared its claim form unlawful.
The Clement Manyatela Show on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
When it comes to resilience, focus and strength, few South Africans embody it like Gert Steyn, the Comrades Marathon champion and one of the toughest endurance athletes in our country, sits down with Dr. Michael Mole for a powerful conversation you won't want to miss. It's part of Sipla's Health and Mind Matters, a trusted hub bringing you expert-led health conversations you can trust. Together they unpack mindset, pressure, physical health, and what it really takes to stay strong mentally and physically. Watch the full video now on the Prime Media Plus app or primemediaplus.com. Scroll to Prime Media Highlights and click on Health Matters.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hello, John. I hear the caller saying that why must the crocodile die? Why must, when somebody gets out of the car in the Kruger, then the lion has to die? Okay, number one, if it was your loved one, you want closure. And so they need to capture the crocodile so that they could look at the remains within its stomach and do a DNA test to see whether it is that family's loved one who has indeed been eaten by the crocodile. All right. I mean, that's closure for the family versus the rights of the crocodile. I think sad, but the crocodile had to die. This is Hendrik from Pretoria.
I agree with Nicholas. Why was that person crossing a low-lying bridge while the river was flooding? If he wasn't doing that, he wouldn't have been swept away and he wouldn't have been eaten. So I think it's unfair to have killed a crocodile. That crocodile did what a crocodile do. He saw food, he ate the food, and therefore he should not have killed. When they did kill him and they found that there was no human remains, what would they have done then? Went and looked for another crocodile until they found one with human remains. It's unfair. Linda Gauteng.
Hi, John. To what that man was saying about it being despicable, I've been seeing that comment on social media, and some people saying at least if they just did the operation and took out the remains, and then after that, like, close it up again, and then I don't know, then sit it out in the wild again. But then again, who's going to fly around with a crocodile that's alive? What if whatever sedation you use stops and then it starts wiggling and stuff? I don't know. I think the family deserves to have some part of deserves to bury something and get that closure that they need. I know it's sad that the crocodile needs to die, but I mean, come on, guys. We are people, you know? We are people, and we should be caring about people more. I don't know if that's a bad thing to say. But anyway, this is Letabo from Boksburg.
Yeah, it's a fascinating debate and an important one. And there is an argument just in response saying, you know, people should put their care for people first. There is another argument that goes that often people who don't care about animals often don't care a huge amount about people either. They are willing to take decisions that affect the environment. And if you look at a resource like drinking water, it may often start a debate around, well, that drinking water was meant to be for the animals. Before long, it's the water that we're drinking. I'm just saying, these lines are blurred, which is what makes the debate we're having so interesting. 702 Drive, 19 to 6.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Tolakele Mganga with the very latest from the world of sport. I noticed Nottingham Forest got a real pasting when they put out their lineup. Some people are saying you're not even trying. Sounds like they're doing rather well.
EWN Sport.
I jumped the gun before your jingle, but yeah, I was just saying Forest getting a bit of a hammering for their lineup, but lineup seem to be doing pretty well.
Absolutely, John, and we into the 71st minute of their Premier League clash against Chelsea, and Forest are now 3-0 up. The visitors went 2-0 up inside the first 15 minutes, while Cole Palmer had a penalty saved after Forest had a player carried off on a stretcher with a head injury. The Blues came into this encounter 9th in the Premier League standings and on a run of 5 successive losses. The action will continue at 9 p.m. when Everton host Manchester City. We're looking to reduce the gap at the top after leaders Arsenal win 6 points clear following victory over Fulham. And with weeks left in this campaign, Pep Guardiola admits this is his favourite time of any football season.
I enjoy that we are there to try to achieve something unique, value the road that we have taken together this season, this year. The job has been good, have been, new players, and I see the team how grew up through the month, and we are better than they were 2 or 3 months ago, and next season will be better.
Mamelodi Sundowns will look to go one step closer to securing the Betway Premiership title when they take on Kaizer Chiefs on Wednesday. The Brazilians are now favourites for a 9th league crown in a row as they're 5 points clear of second place Orlando Pirates, who have a game in hand. Miguel Cardoso has discussed their quest to wrap up the championship before they take on AS FAR in the first leg of the CAF Champions League final.
It's a story to be written, and we have to do it if we want to succeed 100%, because then we can depend on the others, of course. We should just focus on ourselves. There's a match that is like the ones we've been playing high level, because we are in a moment that all matches become high level. Relate with the situation and try to make as best as possible. This is a big, beautiful challenge ahead, of course, because basically it's almost a 1 week and a half and everything will be finished.
Yannick Sinner is now the first man to win 5 consecutive Masters 1000 titles after beating Alexander Zverev 6-1 and 6-2 to win the Madrid Open. Sinner surpassed the mark of Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal, while the Serb remains the only player to complete a career Golden Masters of winning all 9 Masters title. That's something Sinner can match if he triumphs in Rome next week.
Cannot compare myself with Rafa, Roger, Novak. What they did is something incredible, and I don't play for these records, or I don't play for records in general. I play for myself, I play for my team, because they know what's behind, and also my family, because my family, with the success I've had, they also never changed how they are towards me. They are simple parents, and I feel very safe when I'm around them.
Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
16 minutes to 6. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. And Corsi Corner with the very latest from the roads.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon from the traffic desk. Let's begin with this message from a listener. You may have heard it earlier. If you missed it, here it goes. It's about the congestion currently being experienced in the Report area. That's at the Gordon Road crossing the highway and Hendrik Potgieter. We're told by Helen that it's a nightmare. She says the off-ramps as well onto Gordon Road are severely affected. People there, and I quote, block the intersection, unquote. Taking a look at other incidents, there's a stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Van Buren Road slowing down traffic. This is around the Bedfordview area. While in Germiston, there's another stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Haldenes interchange causing delays. In Boksburg, please be on the lookout for one. That's a stationary vehicle on the N12 westbound at Rietfontein interchange. Another one on the N12 westbound before Xavier Street ran from Klip Drive. Of course, between those 2 points, some pressure they expected. One of the 4 lanes has been closed. This is as you head to the Glen Shopping Mall. Let's take a look at some of the traffic lights that remain out in the capital, Tshwane, in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein, in Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive, and in the Central Business District at Thabo Sihume and Johannes Ramohwase. Pointsmen, we're told, are on duty, and hopefully it eases as the day rounds up. Anything else, my friends, that you need to let us know about? We'd love to hear from you to ensure that we give you accurate reports as you make your way home, and we're hoping that you get there safely. Send us your latest traffic update on X. We are at EWN Traffic, or simply WhatsApp us or send us a voice note on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 50 was, as per my last email, too passive-aggressive. Oh, the torture. Well, with the Outsurance pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
702 Afternoons with Repurposing Maboja.
702 Afternoons is about all things in life, from music to inspiration. We get an opportunity to explore science, mental health, food. I almost feel like there's nothing we don't do on my show. One of the things I absolutely love about 702 Land and the 702 family is that we are so sharing. We share tears, laughs, smiles. We share in the amazing times and celebrate together as well. We have a range of topics, but when it comes to what we do cover on the show, absolutely everything. My listener is somebody who wants to grow, evolve, develop. They're empathetic, they are loving, they are so special that even when they don't have, they come through and share, and more importantly, they know how to walk the talk.
702 Afternoons with Repurposing Maboja. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, 12 minutes to 6. It is music time. Now, I asked you earlier in the show for songs about trains. It could be train in the title, or as a wonderful suggestion, put it, everything that happens in the song happens on a train. Perhaps you can guess the name of the song. In any case, we will play it and share the voice, the WhatsApp that we got as well. Now, the reason we thought about songs about trains was on Friday when we asked you for songs appropriate to Workers' Day. We didn't get to play as much of that Huma Sakela classic. We didn't get to play nearly as much as I would have liked to. Stimela, a wonderful song evoking the trains that brought migrant workers to South Africa to come and work in particularly the gold mines, but mines of all kinds coming here from other parts of Southern Africa. So we thought we'd stay with trains, even if we couldn't on Friday have played the full version of Stimela. We simply ran out of time. So let's get on board a train. This one is actually going to Georgia.
For the man, too much for the man, he couldn't make it. So he's leaving the life he's come to know. Ooh. He said he's going back to find, ooh, what's left of his world, the world he left behind not so long ago. He's leaving on that midnight train to Georgia. Yeah, said he's going back to a simpler place and time. Oh yes he is.
Gladys Knight and the Pips, Midnight Train to Georgia. So your train song, please, train songs, please, on 0727021702. Back with your music in a moment.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting it. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities, and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masango Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's a home for dream creators, operators, and change makers. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Joburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be a part of something special. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babize bonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
Joburg audiences are loving Pretty Women the musical. Don't miss the Broadway and West End smash hit, packed with romance, laughter, and the unforgettable music of Bryan Adams. Now on stage at Monte Casino's Teatro for a limited season only until 31 May. Book your seats now at showtime.co.za. Beyond the movie, Pretty Women, the love story you know, the musical you'll never forget. Brought to you by Showtime Management.
My fellow South Africans, you have spoken and we have listened. We understand the severity of your situation and we know you are tired. We are all tired. But something bigger and better is coming. Your chance is finally coming home. Stay tuned. Keep watching. We'll talk soon. I thank you.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good evening, John and 0702 listeners. My name is Tapiwa. I'm listening in from Pretoria. The song that comes to mind about trains or that happened in a train is The Gambler by Busy Signal. It's more like a reggae remix of the original by Kenny Rogers.
How's it, John? Sean from Springs. I love the topic today. Well, a train is a passenger. So the song is The Passenger by Susie and the Banshees. How about that one? Anyway, have a great week. And don't forget to spoil your mom on Sunday.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a Susie and the Banshees version of that song. I know the Lou Reed version, which I really like, but bringing in some brass there, wonderful thing. We're talking about remakes and remixes of songs, of course. We had a version of The Gambler put forward, and Titus also had that song in his mind, but he's going for the Kenny Rogers original and says everything about the song happened in a train during a train ride. Apparently, Kenny met a cowboy gambler during a train ride who gave him some tips on how to be a good, shrewd gambler. Let's listen at least to a bit of what he said.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us. And he began to speak. He said, son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression.
Yeah, it's a great song. I don't know the reggae version. I'll have a listen to it later. Colorfellow says the song that came to me is Bob Marley and the Wailers, I Stopped the Train. Wayne says Chattanooga Choo Choo, ? And says, would that be a train song? It certainly would. Stop that train, Peter Tosh, is the suggestion from Rasipaka Paka. Let's hear another of your voice notes.
Hi, Ntate John. For me, now I feel like I'm on the last train home by Pat Metheny, as most of us are just knocking off, going home. Thank you, Lepede.
Hi, John and team. David in Boxburg here. My song is Aaron Neville's People Get Ready, which features the lyrics, or train in the lyrics. Also a good song.
People get ready, there's a train coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. I believe.
What a voice. Aaron Neville, People Get Ready. There's a slow train coming. Now, we heard earlier from Lihlokwana talking about that last train home. Let's send you home with Pat Metheny. Yeah, it's been great having you with us, even as you make your way home on train, plane. Well, you wouldn't be listening to 702, would you, if you were flying? A lot of other train songs, but we are fresh out of time. I'm John Perlman. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the Agri Trends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. We get it. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, your fuel price nightmare draws closer. Diesel jumps by over R6 a litre on Wednesday. Kevin Lings tonight will explain the outlook for possible rate hikes as a result, while Amanda Kromhout will look at how higher fuel prices are driving a new promotions and points war at the pumps. Pick n Pay says its workers have to get used to working on weekends as our shopping habits have changed dramatically. Carol Payton on the National Treasury's latest procurement scheme that seems to want to micromanage government contracts. We look at the art of managing uncertainty. And from 7:30, Linda Mabena Ologunju on how to get into the windmill and energy business. All of that to come, but first, the very latest Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Maiki Malapo. Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela has appointed Professor Hlengani Mathebula as the administrator of NSFAS in an effort to stabilize the institution. Manamela announced this afternoon that the NSFAS has been placed under administration following governance and financial concerns. This means the NSFAS board has been dissolved despite having been in office for just over a year. Professor Mathebula will temporarily oversee the organization until a new board is officially appointed. Alpha Ramushwana has more.
In November last year, NSFAS board chairperson Dr. Karen Stander resigned, saying the board had become highly toxic. Dr. Mukwena Maluleke was then appointed as acting chairperson after her departure, but he also submitted his resignation earlier this month. Another board member has since also left the NSFAS board, with all three citing poor governance and a toxic work environment as their reasons for stepping down. Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela says this presents an opportunity to rebuild the NSFAS leadership.
I was not satisfied